You're watching ESPN's presentation of Capital One Bowl Week.
Today from Big D, two teams who had high expectations for 2012 look to begin the new year with a bowl game victory. The Oklahoma State Cowboys have overcome a revolving door at quarterback to produce one of the nation's most potent offenses. They'll face the Purdue Boilermakers, winners of 3 straight, led by all Big Ten defensive tackle K'Wan Short. The Heart of Dallas Bowl, next. Welcome to the 2013 Heart of Dallas Bowl. It is a cold, damp New Year's Day from historic Cotton Bowl Stadium in Dallas, Texas. 6-6 Purdue out of the Big Ten, taking on 7-5 Oklahoma State out of the Big 12. Hi again, everybody, and Happy New Year. Alongside my partner, former Georgia All-American Matt Stinchcomb, I'm Clay Matvick. Kaylee Hartung will be with us shortly. Boy, these two teams have been through a lot this year. Injuries, coaching changes. Still, here they are on New Year's Day.
You know, and they ended the season very differently. When you look at Oklahoma State dropping their last 2 ball games, Purdue rallying to win their final 3. But this might be the best football that either one of these two teams will play all season because of the opportunity to get healthy, and we could be in for a good one.
Let's talk about Oklahoma State. Looking back, after a 12-1 season, an obvious disappointment as they go 7-5. Still, the offensive numbers very similar from last year. 4th nationally in points per game. A sour finish, still a terrific job by Mike Gundy and his staff.
You can't say enough about it. And other programs obviously taking notice to the job Mike Gundy did this season, given the adversity that they had from a personnel standpoint at a key position like quarterback, knowing they had to replace the production of a Brandon Whedon and a Justin Blackman, and yet still being able to perform at a very elite level. And I think that's largely due to one of the consistencies in the run game. That's because of Joseph Randall. His contributions last year were key on the ground, and they were even more pivotal this year, knowing that they had new faces taking snaps from center. They could turn and hand the football off to the leading rusher in this conference, and he stepped up big for them all season long, knowing that that rushing attack had to mean more to Oklahoma State this year.
The leading rusher in the Big 12 this year, probably the best running back, pound for pound in the league, almost 113 yards per game. Now, Purdue won the last 3 games to get bowl eligible. It did not save Danny Hope's job. Expectations were very high this year because they had 18 starters returning, and they almost beat Notre Dame. A near miss in overtime, a loss to Ohio State, and this team now run by interim head coach Patrick Higgins.
And you talk with the coaches at Purdue, and they'll recognize a little bit of an emotional hangover, I think, from some of those closer ball games. You talk about the Notre Dame game, the Ohio State game. They had opportunities to make waves early in the season, starting the year off 3-1, and then the middle part of the season, things kind of fell apart. But at the end, after Patrick Higgins took over some of the play calling duties, also now the interim head coach, they kind of found their legs offensively, and it was largely because they stuck to their guns with Robert Marve and Akeem Shavers with the run game.
And speaking of Marve, it has been a tough career, both at Miami and since transferring to Purdue. For more on that, here's Kaylee Hartung.
Clay, Robert Marve has fought through injury since he transferred to Purdue in 2009. He's torn his left ACL 3 times, most recently in week 2 against Notre Dame. Now, after that game, he thought his season was over, but with the support of his training staff and some dedication in the training room, he came back just 3 weeks later against Michigan. That means he has played the last 8 games without the support of the ACL in his left knee. His trainers say it's a very unique situation where the previous injuries and the rehab that followed actually helped him fight back from this injury.
He has been extremely effective, Kaylee, completing 66% of his passes for over 1,500 yards, 13 touchdowns, only 3 picks. A cloudy 41 degrees here at the Cotton Bowl in Dallas. Winds 12 miles per hour. It is a blustery day here in the Big D. The second meeting all time between these two teams, and the second bowl meeting. Purdue won the '97 Alamo Bowl. Oklahoma State will receive as Purdue won the toss, and they have deferred. Thomas Meadows has 12 touchbacks on the year. This one will not reach the end zone as we're underway. Justin Gilbert from the 5. Takes a hit, still on his feet. Spins away from several tacklers and now finally wrestled down at the 15-yard line. Clint Chelf began the year as the #3 quarterback at Oklahoma State. Injuries to Wes Lunt and J.W. Walsh forced him into duty week 8 at Kansas State. This will be his 5th straight start, and Coach Gundy has said that he has earned this opportunity.
Yeah, when we talked to Coach Gundy, why is it that Chelf gets the start? And he said, more than anything else, it's the rhythm of the season. They felt as if with Chelf in there, the quarterback, they can have some sense of consistency with the way they finished the year.
Chelf out of the gun, first play from scrimmage for the Cowboys. Plenty of time to throw, and he wants to take a shot downfield. Some contact at midfield. No penalty flags as Ricardo Allen breaks up that pass at the 50-yard line. It was intended for Charlie Moore, the junior out of Bullard, Texas.
When you look at Oklahoma State, they like Clint Chelf in that he's a little bit of both. Wes Lunt is more of the passer, J.W. Walsh a runner. Chelf gives him a little element of both.
Go to the air again. Austin Hayes makes the catch. 3 yards short of the first down. Josh Johnson, the talented corner, makes the tackle for Purdue as we take a look at the impact players.
And you take a look at Joseph Randall. We've already mentioned him. He's paced this offense all season long, but Josh Stewart really emerging in his inside receiver position, and Quinn Sharp at the kicker spot. Not often you see that, but he basically won the Kansas game single-handedly in bad weather earlier this year.
We're going to get a timeout called by Purdue. We're not
First charge timeout, Purdue.
A minute into this thing. And again, an interim head coach. Maybe some communication issues that they're trying to sift through here in the start of this bowl game.
We mentioned, I think, it's important for Purdue to jump out in this ball game if they can. You don't want to get into a blow-by-blow type of a matchup versus a high-powered offense in Oklahoma State. So you've got a third down scenario that you forced early in the ball game. They've taken a shot on first down to try to loosen you up. Here's an opportunity to get the ball to your offense and perhaps do something with halfway decent field position. We just hit on it, though. Quinn Sharp, if they do end up not converting, can flip the field easily. He's had a couple of games with multiple 70-plus yard punts.
Now this defense under coordinator Tim Tibesar allowed 407 yards per game during the year. Randall, and he is going to be very close to the first down. Ryan Russell, the defensive end, who grew up 30 minutes from here in Carrollton, Texas, makes the stop.
Bruce Gastons is another guy. We'll mention K'Wan Short's name, number 93, quite a bit. But Bruce Gaston has done an excellent job for Purdue as well. And it looked like Coach Gundy was considering going for it on fourth down, but now a quick change in personnel, they're going to punt it away.
And one of the best special teamers in the country, Quinn Sharp, who handles all the kicking chores, comes out on the 15-yard line. Good booming kick. This is going to back off Frankie Williams. And it bounces at the 11, takes an Oklahoma State roll to the 8-yard line. What a weapon is Quinn Sharp. A 65-yard punt pinning the Boilers deep.
Well, already we've seen it. The impact players we talk about, they were able to get the tackle of Joseph Randall and keep him short. The first-team all-conference punter and kicker, and he's unbelievable at both. And you see it there, the field position. We talked about Purdue wanting to get the stop, perhaps getting good field position. Not with a weapon like Quinn Sharp. It's never a bad idea with a punter like that to kick the ball away.
Now we're going to get our first look at Robert Marve and the Purdue offense. On first down, Marve rolling out to his right from the end zone, sets to throw and does, and it's a little bit low, incomplete. Crosby Wright, the tight end, couldn't get his arms under it to make the completion. Second down, Marve. Pretty good numbers considering that third torn ACL since the transfer. Injured that knee in week 2, that loss at Notre Dame.
Yeah, playing on one leg, and they still move Robert Marve quite a bit in their passing game. They'll boot him out very often. He'll be escorted by an offensive lineman, but not scared to move the pocket even with that ACL injury.
Opening series for Purdue, again throwing. Marve, this time he is complete, caught at the 12-yard line. There's the junior O.J. Ross. And it's a gain of 5, so third down coming up here for Purdue.
This is the challenge. Watch Purdue a lot in this ball game. They're a horizontal passing offense. They take opportunities to get the ball into their receivers' hands quickly and see if they can't make yards after the catch. it'll be incumbent on Oklahoma State. You look at Justin Gilbert, Broderick Brown, the corners, to be able to make tackles in space.
This is an Oklahoma State defense that has had struggles at times. Trying to get off the field here on third down. Marv now rolling to his left, throws across his body, incomplete. Intended for Antavian Edison. Daytwan Lowe, the free safety. Good coverage for the Cowboys, and the Boilermakers will have to kick.
And you see Robert Marv getting with Edison a little bit. Edison looked to me like he slipped down on his route. Messed up the timing. Obviously, Robert Marv bought some time with his legs. But even in pregame, we were talking about it. The track down there on the field, a little bit loose, it appears. A lot of players slipping, having difficulty keeping their footing.
Cody Webster, a tough task here on his first effort of the day. And it's a fake. And he's got running room. A first down for Cody Webster, the Purdue punter. And the Boilermakers will keep control of the football. A 16-yard run for Webster. And how about that call from Higgins?
Now look, and we mentioned some of this on our call with Coach Higgins. It's not like they're playing for next season. They're not trying to get a look at some guys. They're playing to win this ball game. And you can see they're able to capture the edge and just escort all the way down the field, pick up the first down yardage. I think Purdue recognizes they need to take shots in this ball game, see if they can't jump out on top of an Oklahoma State.
Now Marv, this time under center, hands off to Akeem Shavers, his first carry of the day. And it's a productive one. Walks out of bounds on the near sideline after a gain of 8. And let's take a look at the keys to the game for the Boilermakers.
You know, it's one of those things where when you're up against a high-powered offense, see if you can't hit them early. We talked about Oklahoma State. They maybe didn't anticipate being in this bowl game. Make them not want to be here. Jump out on top and give them a reason to not want to play hard. The other is stop Joseph Randall, which is what Purdue was able to do on the third down previously.
I've seen him hit him early, all right. It's Shavers again right up the middle, and he's got a first down carry across the 40 to the 43-yard line. Shavers playing in his final college game in his home state. He's from Texarkana, about 175 miles down the highway.
You see Ralph Bolden substituting in for Akeem Shavers, but I think one of the things that Patrick Higgins brought was a commitment to give Akeem Shavers more touches. He talked about the necessity of getting into a rhythm as a running back, and he's done that the last 3 games.
7th play of the drive, and this time it's Ralph Bolden. And it's going to be a loss of 1. There's Caleb Levy, the middle linebacker, a very smart third-year starter. Excellent tackler. That's a loss on the play. 2nd and 11.
You know, and you'll see Levy in the middle of your screen there, scraping straight downhill, and really it looked like to me maybe perhaps Nigel Nicholas from his defensive end position from the backside. Levy there to clean him up.
And keep it on the ground. And Kurt Freitag, the fullback. A lot of operating room. Gain of 2, so a long third down again for Purdue.
It's the challenge, of course. You run a fake, you're able to extend your possession, but you get a tackle for loss on first down, get you off schedule offensively. Patrick Higgins willing to take a gamble on a special teams play, but now the big challenge is converting a 3rd and long in a passing attack that doesn't necessarily do a great job pushing it vertical.
Marv looking to his right, now feeling some pressure, rolling that way. Still looking downfield, and he has to tuck and dive out of bounds. And it'll bring up 4th down again. It's a loss of 1 as Tyler Johnson, the speed rusher, did a great job in pursuit.
You know, again, mentioning Robert Marv's mobility still. The guy's out there, he's not hopping around on just one leg, having to buy time in the pocket. Oklahoma State only brought 3, but the twist was able to get there. The line stunt by their defense. It looked like he was trying to get the ball downfield to Antavian Edison, unable to get it accomplished. I doubt we see another fake.
Josh Stewart back to return this punt, and Webster kicks it away this time. 2nd best punter in the Big Ten, a 43-yard average. Good move by Stewart. Gets free. He's to midfield. Webster can't make the tackle. Inside the 20-yard line. Brought down by Williams at the 18. A 64-yard return for Stewart.
You mentioned Josh Stewart and how he's an impact player for Oklahoma State as an inside receiver in their passing game. But in the return game as well, he keeps this play alive. Purdue covermen all around him, able to maintain his balance. And then there was plenty of green grass to run into. And let's give some credit, though, to my man Robert Kugler, 57, covering down and making the tackle. That's pretty good pursuit, heading all the way downfield. But look at the moves by Stewart. And you can see what he can do perhaps in the open field and why Oklahoma State likes to get him the ball in space.
Stewart has had an amazing sophomore year. Most of it as a receiver, but a big special teams play. And on first down, Joseph Randall lowers his head, takes it 7 yards to the 12.
Big momentum swing, obviously, as you see. Stewart over on the sideline, probably trying to gain his breath a little bit. He had to run a long way to pick up the yardage on that punt return.
Quick strike to the outside. Chelf complete to Hayes. It's going to be a first down and goal to go for the Cowboys. Josh Johnson makes the tackle, but it's a gain of 6. And here's Oklahoma State on the doorstep.
Well, and Austin Hayes is a guy for Oklahoma State. A little bit surprised that of the freshman receivers, he would be the one that would really assert himself in the offense. But they've liked his production. He provides them with sure hands, but also is a playmaker that can stretch the football field.
Joseph Randall in the backfield. To the left of Chelf, it will be Randall. And he gets inside the 5. You know, without Todd Monken, Matt Gundy and the offensive assistants are kind of pooling their thoughts in calling the offensive plays.
Yeah, and I think that's partly why perhaps they stuck with Clint Chelf, is he's more familiar with them offensively. You're talking about 2 freshmen in J.W. Walsh or Wes Lunt. Clint Chelf, almost in some ways a coach on the field that can operate that better.
Chelf looking to the end zone, lobs it, and it's caught. Touchdown, Charlie Moore, their big play receiver. The junior gets Oklahoma State on the board.
Working against Frankie Williams, and Frankie just wasn't able to get his head around and locate the ball in the air. Great placement by Clint Chelf on this ball. You see it. He drops it right in the slot and allows his receiver to run into the catch in the back of the end zone. And Chelf, not known for great accuracy, and on that one in man coverage, able to place the ball exactly where they needed it. And that punt return proved to be a huge momentum shifter in this ball game early.
7th career touchdown for Moore. 4 plays, 19 yards in just over a minute. Special teams big on that series. Happy New Year from the heart of Dallas Bowl here at the Cotton Bowl in Dallas, Texas. Oklahoma State opening up a 7-0 lead. A 64-yard punt return by Josh Stewart set up the touchdown. Mike Gundy, in his 8th season as head coach at Oklahoma State, it's been commonplace for him to have to replace offensive coordinators. Larry Fedora, Dana Holgerson, and now Todd Monken have left. Tim Beckman also on the defensive side left for a head coaching job. I mean, that says that he's good at picking great assistants. Unfortunately, he's losing them at a high rate.
When you got a lot of success, you know, a lot of programs are going to pay attention. Southern Miss has picked off a couple of offensive coordinators. They should start, you know, contributing to the OC salary at Oklahoma State. It's like a farm system for them as future head coaches. Larry Fedora and now Todd Monken.
Quinn Sharp kicks it to the 10. Here comes Akeem Hunt for Purdue, and he's stacked up at about the 24-yard line. It's worth another look. That Josh Stewart punt return. A lot of athleticism on this play.
Well, you see, there's plenty of opportunities for Purdue to make the play. The coverage was there. Stewart really made the catch under duress with the coverage as tight as it was. But the fact he's able to maintain his balance and then to get his team into scoring position, Chelf with a perfectly placed pass to Moore. And you can see the Cowboys excited to be in this ball game. Purdue maybe a wasted opportunity off of that fake punt success in their previous series.
Ralph Bolden. Just no daylight up the middle. Bolden missed the last game of the regular season against Indiana with a hamstring injury. He's happy to be playing. Ryan Robinson tied for the team lead in tackles for loss for Oklahoma State. Gets a hit there. It's going to be a short gain of 2.
One of the things for Purdue, what they were able to do in their final 3 games during their win streak was keep the scoreboard manageable. And by that, I mean it allowed them to stay with their rushing attack. The last thing that they can allow to happen in this game is for the points to get away from them on the board.
4th pass of the day for Marv. It's tipped and picked off. Shamil Gary, the strong safety, with the interception for Oklahoma State. Great field position now for the Cowboys.
You can see Robert Marv, he was trying to get the ball to his receiver, Gary Bush. Gary was trying to play a little bit of peekaboo, really. And you could see just there late, it looked to me like Calvin Barnett got his big paw on it. Gets his arm up. He's able to tip the ball. Whenever the ball's tipped up, it's a tremendous opportunity for the secondary because of their facing the play, all of them. And you see there, Shamil Gary able to come up and make the turnover.
Gary, the transfer from Wyoming, and Oklahoma State, 126 forced turnovers since 2009. But they haven't had nearly the takeaways that they did a year ago. That's a good sign in this bowl game for Oklahoma State as they complete it to Stewart. They had 44 takeaways a year ago. A big reason that they were able to make it to the Fiesta Bowl. Just 17 before this game coming in.
It's pretty remarkable when you think about it, how many there were.
Chelf. Incomplete, penalty flags. Gabe Jackson was the intended receiver, and he may have been bumped in the secondary by Will Lucas.
It was a unique formation. We talked about Mike Gundy changing things up, getting away from their base. In this one, left tackle Parker Graham split out wide.
Terry Layden from the Pac-12 is their lead official.
Pass interference. Number 45 of the defense. This is a spot foul. Results in a first down.
Lucas getting the start because of the injury to Sean Robinson.
Here's Graham right here. This is your left tackle. He's way out there as a receiver. And you can see him there. Look at him. He's looking for the football, man. Give me the rock. As it is, they get the interference penalty.
An 11-yard penalty. They spot it at the 10. First down, goal to go. Randall trying to cut the corner on the near side, driven down by Johnson. And he'll get 3.
Oklahoma State jumps in this formation a couple of times. It looks like almost like an inverted wishbone. You had to know that when their in-state rival Oklahoma has so much success with the traditional version of it that Oklahoma State would invert it. But it's effectively, you've got 3 backs in the backfield. It's just something else for this Purdue defense to prepare for.
3rd series for the Cowboys. Play fake. Chelf going to the end zone. Caught. Touchdown. In the back of the end zone, making it look easy. Despite some decent coverage, Blake Jackson, a 7-yard touchdown catch.
Well, now we're seeing more and more, I think, why Coach Gundy wanted to stick with Clint Chelf. Twice now we've seen, as he throws into the end zone, where he fits it into a tight window, throwing over coverage. You see it really, 2 Purdue defenders, Landon Fichter being one of them, Antoine Higgs the other. They were underneath that pass route. Chelf with just enough air underneath it to get it completed.
Chelf 5 of 6 for 29 yards and 2 touchdowns so far today. And we're just midway through the first quarter. A great start to the Heart of Dallas Bowl for the Cowboys of Oklahoma State. Happy New Year.
Number 1.
ESPN College Football. The Heart of Dallas Bowl is brought to you by Ram Trucks. Guts, glory, Ram. Some pictures from Saturday afternoon. More than 150 Dallas area Pop Warner athletes visit Bishop Lynch High School for the Panini Heart of Dallas Skills Clinic. Tim Brown was there, the '87 Heisman winner. And the kids are here watching the game, enjoying the Heart of Dallas Bowl, which has Out to a great start for the Oklahoma State Cowboys. 14-0. The Cowboys have had 7 plays in plus territory already. Purdue yet to cross the 50-yard line.
Well, in some ways, a microcosm of Purdue's season. Started out well in this ball game, able to force an Oklahoma State punt, convert on a fake punt to extend their initial series. But then a big punt return on Oklahoma State side, and then a tip ball for an interception. And all of a sudden, the Cowboys jumping out on top of Purdue.
This will be an important possession for the Boilermakers. Down a couple of scores. Akeem Hunt, he is dangerous. Spins out of a tackle and looks for the near sideline. He stopped at the 24. 18-yard return. There is a penalty flag down. Here's that Oklahoma State interception that led to the touchdown pass by Chelf.
You can see there too, Clint Chelf, off the play action. It wasn't as if Purdue busted coverage. They had defenders in the area, and again, just mentioning the accuracy. And you see Clint Chelf, I think, more and more growing into this role.
19 scoring drives under a minute.
Yeah, that's quick. Man, that's part of what they do all season long. Oklahoma State, they don't have to possess the football. In fact, they only led in time of possession twice this season. They don't need to have it a long time to be able to generate a lot of points, as we've seen once again this year.
Like we said before, nearly 45 points per game. That's 4th nationally. 50 points or more 4 times.
Team has opted to re-kick the ball after a 5-yard penalty.
The kicking unit's going to have to come back as the Cowboys were offsides on special teams. Mike Gundy, Eddie Robinson Coach of the Year last year, winningest coach in Oklahoma State history, despite a year where the expectations were high and had disappointing results. Talked about what a great job he has done. Other programs have gone after him, but he's staying put, at least for now.
Yeah, I mean, and that's probably a good problem to have. You're looking at your head coach. You want him to be attractive to other programs. The last thing you want is for nobody else to want the guy that you've already got. You got Mike Gundy, and other programs were nosing around. You heard about Tennessee. You heard about Arkansas. It wouldn't be the first time that an Oklahoma State head coach makes a jump and heads somewhere else and enjoys continued success, much like a Les Miles.
He's been extremely loyal to his alma mater. Also, his wife, Kristen, an Oklahoma State grad. Quinn Sharp kicks it off again. This time it's Raheem Mostert on the return. Starts it at the 2. Gets it out across the 25-yard line. Let's go down to Kaylee.
Clay, Coach Higgins calls Robert Marve the heart and soul of this team. That's what he said when I spoke to him just before the game. And if you watch these sidelines, as the Purdue defense comes off the field frustrated from another Oklahoma State score, Robert Marve is the first guy to be patting those guys on the back and encouraging them. Clay?
Marve was named the backup to Caleb Turbush in camp, but Turbush was suspended before the opener. It kind of opened up a crack in the door of opportunity for Marve this season, and he's made the most of it, despite the injuries.
Yeah, a lot of parallels at the quarterback position, for both of these teams when you look at it. Clint Chelf, a guy backing up Brandon Whedon a year ago, looked like the heir apparent, and just got outplayed in camp. It wasn't playing well in practice, and ended up ceding that starting quarterback job.
The player down for Oklahoma State is Alex Elkins, weak side linebacker. He's a starter. Only the 4th year that he's been playing football. This is an interesting story. He answered an ad in the school paper at Blinn Junior College when he was there. They were looking for walk-ons. He responded. He wanted to play quarterback, but there was a guy there at the time by the name of Cam Newton, so he couldn't play quarterback. They said, what about defense? You want to play linebacker? He said, sure. Now he's in his 2nd year as a starter at Oklahoma State.
Yeah, that's unbelievable. Yeah. Position filled, I think, at Blinn Junior College at the quarterback spot. Alex Elkins, wrapping his arms around the game of football and learning how to be an excellent tackler and a really good athlete. You talk with Bill Young, the D coordinator for Oklahoma State. Elkins not always in the right place, but he makes plays for the Cowboys. That might be a void now in their second line with him limping off.
Best starting field position for Purdue. Akeem Shavers. There's a little crack in the defense. It's going to be a first down, a gain of 11 for Akeem Shavers.
That's a great job up front. They ran a rundown blitz. Oklahoma State bringing players downfield. Raheem Shavers showing why he's an impact player in this ball game. We talk about the last 3 games, how he stepped up. K'Wan Short is going to have to be big, slowing down Joseph Randall as well on the defensive side of the ball.
Penalty markers. Be a false start.
False start. Number 64 of the offense. 5-yard penalty. Still first down.
It's on left tackle Kevin Pamphile of Purdue. Now Shavers, Matt, Purdue fans will remember last year he was the MVP of the Little Caesars Bowl. He had 149 yards against Western Michigan. If Purdue is going to come back in this game and be effective against Cowboys, they've got to run.
Well, they're going to have to be able to run. You know, they're going to have to get some defensive stops as well.
Shavers one more time behind a block, gets across the 35 and then gets hit hard and driven down by Levy. Boy, Levy has been active here in the first quarter.
He was escorted there. They do a lot of pulling, and you see center Rick Schmig able to get out in front. He's unable to locate his block, but you see him as he pulls around. He's just unable to get up on Levy. If he picks him up, that's he's out going maybe still for some more yardage.
Shavers is so tough, doesn't even have his mouth guard in. Marv, little receiver screen. Delapo McCarthy, the redshirt freshman, makes the catch. Shamil Gary brings him down after a gain of 8. It's going to be short of the first down by about 2 yards.
You see, that's one of the things Oklahoma State's going to have to be able to do. Purdue likes to stretch the football field laterally in their passing game and see if they can't find ways to pick up yardage after the catch. Setting up this 3rd down, going back to the previous run, if they're able to pick up a block, it's already a first.
High snap, Marv puts it in the breadbasket of Cottom, and he's got the first down. Brandon Cottom, a gain of 5. And another Purdue back who's had ACL problems picks up the first.
You know, we see it again. This is kind of similar to that wishbone formation I was talking about that Oklahoma State runs. You got 3 backs in the backfield there. It changes the run fits. You got to basically have 3 different fits, 3 different gaps for the defense. Cottom able to find a hole and pick up the first down yardage.
A play fake out to the flat again. And into plus territory for the first time are the Boilermakers as McCarthy makes the catch and steps out after a gain of 2. Gilbert forced him out. So far, so good on this drive for Purdue, trying to respond, down a couple of touchdowns. Shavers, first down, spins away from a tackle, and he's on his feet inside the 25-yard line. Finally dumped by Gary, but a big run for Raheem Shavers, give him 24.
And once again, you can see Patrick Higgins likes what he has on these toss plays, able to get some linemen, pull them out in front. They're very active with their interior blockers. You can see there, Peters, Dre, Rick Schmig again leading downfield.
And that time right through the hands of Shavers, incomplete. Shavers, a great receiver, averaged almost 23 yards per catch. Came up empty that time.
A little bit too much on that one, maybe. Shavers, able to get into a rhythm, though, running this football. Purdue showing that they can move the ball on the ground.
On 2nd and 10, ball comes out. Marv was trying to get it to Bolden and it popped loose. And Purdue able to recover.
A lot of ball handling in their run game. They'll do some zone reads, and you can see Marv, he's reading the end man on the line of scrimmage there. In that instance, it was Ryan Robinson. He's keeping his eyes on the defensive end, and when he went to pull it, you could see, I think it got hung on Bolden's hip. Ends up with the ball on the ground.
22 turnovers, 9th most in the Big Ten. Almost coughed it up there. Two seconds on the play clock. They barely got it off. Marv steps up in the pocket, throws it to the flat again. Bolden. He stopped well short of the first down. Gary with the tackle at about the 17-yard line. It's a gain of 5 yards. Now, we'll see what Purdue decides to do. It looks like they're going to bring out the field goal unit, and they've had trouble in that area.
Bolden kind of had a double clutch to make this reception. You could see it almost squirreling out of his hands. Uses the old thigh pad to keep it in there. Well, Gary again, though, coming up, has an interception and there makes a nice open field tackle to force the field goal attempt.
Sam McCartney, who's been sharing field goal duties with Paul Griggs this season, from 34. No good. And you can see why they've had two guys doing the kicking. Both have been inconsistent.
Nobody able to seize that place kicking duties, but regardless, Purdue, a wasted opportunity to try to work their way back into this ball game.
2:34 to go in the first quarter here at the Cotton Bowl in Dallas. McCartney comes up empty. It's 14-0 Cowboys. The All-State Sugar Bowl is on ESPN Wednesday night, where the Gators are back in a BCS Bowl after defeating 4 teams in the top 12 this year. They take on Big East champs Louisville, led by Teddy Bridgewater. The All-State Sugar Bowl, number 21 Louisville, number 3 Florida, on ESPN tomorrow at 8. 4 teams in the top 12. The Gators knocked off 3-1 against teams in the top 10.
I mean, they earned their stripes this year, didn't they? Did the Gators, second year under Will Muschamp. Probably the ugliest but best team in the country. You could make an argument for that. Able to knock off A&M, beat LSU.
A fly sweep to Josh Stewart. He has been a big story in this game already in the first quarter on special teams with a 64-yard punt return that led to a touchdown. Allen takes him out.
Ricardo Allen, one of the better players for Purdue. When talking to this coaching staff, he's finally healthy, and then expecting him to step up big in this game, they need to slow down this offense.
Fake the reverse. Randall, first down. Joseph Randall had enough for the first down, but there is a marker down behind the play at about the 24-yard line.
This is something to kind of...
Personal foul, tripping. Number 68 of the offense. Half the distance to the goal. Second down.
Lane Taylor, the right guard.
Sometimes when there's a lot of ball handling that goes on, the place takes a little bit longer to develop, and it's an early down. So these defensive linemen are thinking, get upfield, and Lane Taylor, he's just using all the tools available to him. Maybe I can't block him with my shoulders or my arms. The lower body's here. Maybe I could throw that in there.
You're always going to defend the O-lineman.
It's just, what? They're job focused. Just trying to keep their offensive playmakers up on their feet.
Just over 2 minutes to go here in the quarter. Chelf, another little play fake. Plenty of time to throw. No pressure on him yet. Jackson, first down catch. Out of bounds across the 35-yard line. Chelf having all kinds of time to do whatever he wants back there.
That time it looked like they faked a delayed draw. They popped the left guard. They kind of sell it, and you see there Brandon Webb, but he stops. He doesn't get downfield, but it's enough to draw up the linebacker's attention. And it opens up a bigger window to fit the ball, and Blake Jackson standing open and able to make the reception.
That's what Jackson does. He averages over 20 yards per catch, best on the team. Now back to the ground, and Randall trying to knife his way through the Purdue defense. Gets to the 41. It's a gain of 3. Greg Lotta, the defensive end, brings him down with 1.5 minutes to go in the quarter.
And now you see Oklahoma State, they can run a lot of plays up tempo now.
On 2nd and 7, Randall up the hash and across midfield. Beautiful run for Randall. Great patience to wait for that block stench.
Yeah, I like the way, he's kind of a slider. You look at him, he's not a big physical guy, but he is able to run between the tackles. But you see him as he heads towards the sideline, allow his blockers to catch up. Those guys weigh 300 pounds, man. You're faster than they are. And he's able to set up blocks well. Good job by the offensive front, even better job by the ball carrier.
Smith comes in for Randall. Again, the little toss sweep. And Stewart, another first down run. That's a gain of 11. Stewart, great receiver, but an excellent runner, too. See it there. Tracy Moore was expected to be the #1 receiver. Stewart's kind of come out of nowhere here as a sophomore.
And, you know, when you look at what Oklahoma State has coming back, he's likely going to be the top returning receiver in the Big 12. Considering that's a pass-oriented offense, he's going to put up big numbers again next year, perhaps.
Moore has been out this year since mid-October with an injured ankle. 1st and 10, Oklahoma State moving the football again. Smith cuts it up inside the 30 and tiptoes out at the 25-yard line. Fichter, the strong safety, will be credited with the stop, but it's a gain of 12 as Oklahoma State's moving it through the air and now effectively on the ground.
Well, you can see, and that was more of a numbers game more than anything else. They recognized that they had an advantage. 5 men in the box for Purdue. You see Chelf checking to the appropriate run play and able to capture the edge for positive yardage.
Might be the last play here of the quarter. Jeremy Smith. A couple more. Oklahoma State has made a statement here in Dallas on this cold New Year's Day. Clint Chelf and the Cowboys with a 2-touchdown lead after the first 15 minutes at the historic Cotton Bowl in Dallas. You're watching the Heart of Dallas Bowl on ESPNU. Happy New Year.
Anish Shroff in studio. 1949, the last time Northwestern won a bowl game. The Wildcats facing Mississippi State in the TaxSlayer.com Gator Bowl. Quentin Williams, the pick 6. Wildcats looking good, 13-0 second quarter. Clay?
All right, Anish, thank you very much. Now, not such good news for another Big Ten team here today in Dallas. Purdue down 14-0 as we get ready to start the second quarter. There's Robert Marve, the starting quarterback for Purdue. He's going to have his work cut out the rest of the way in this one. Meanwhile, Clint Chelf, the starter for Oklahoma State. After Brandon Whedon graduated, it was actually true freshman Wes Lunt who won the job, but he got hurt in week 3. Then J.W. Walsh, a redshirt freshman, went 2-1 as the starter before he injured his knee against Iowa State. Lunt returned for the K-State game but suffered a concussion, and Chelf has essentially been the starter ever since.
He's acquitted himself well in this ball game. Hasn't had to do a lot with his legs, but it's been with his arm. Really well-placed balls in the passing attack, 2 for touchdowns.
Chelf and the Cowboys inside the 25 on 2nd and 7. To the end zone, in and out of the hands of the intended receiver, Charlie Moore. Almost had his 2nd touchdown catch of the day. First time in Big 12 history and first time nationally in 16 years that a team has had 3 1,000-yard passers in the same season.
It's pretty remarkable, huh? Especially given what they were replacing. Even their primary target, Justin Blackman, not available. You get Josh Stewart to step up and be on the receiving end on a lot of those yards from all 3 of those cues.
3rd and 8. Austin Hayes about 1.5 yards short of the first down. Fichter making the stop for Purdue. We'll see what Oklahoma State decides to do here.
You know, that time, and we see this a lot with Oklahoma State, when they put Austin Hayes, Josh Stewart, the same side of their formation. That time Stewart trying to spring his buddy Austin Hayes.
Well, they're going to bring in J.W. Walsh. He has been used as the short yardage quarterback most of this season. 4th and 1. He'll get under center. Wants to throw. Has a man caught. Touchdown. Fullback Jeremy Seaton. How about that? J.W. Walsh, the Big 12's offensive freshman of the year. A Texas native. Comes in, 1 pass, 1 touchdown strike.
Well, we talked about his mobility. You know, he can hurt a defense with his legs. But he had some pretty good ball games earlier this season. Iowa State throwing for over 400 yards. And you see him pulling up short. Purdue had defenders in containment there. But Seaton able to get behind the coverage and Walsh be able to deliver a strike. And you see both quarterbacks going to get done in the passing game.
Sharp with the extra point. Walsh, his 12th touchdown pass of the year. His dad, John, led Denton Guyer High School here in Texas to the Class 4A state title here last week. He is proud of his son. Happy New Year. Welcome back to the Heart of Dallas Bowl. It's 21-0 Oklahoma State on top of Purdue, even though Purdue's playing with extra men.
Oh, look, there's 11 guys on the field, and then you run out there and they're sending in, you'll see him right here. This is number 12, 12th defender coming in. Oklahoma State had substituted an additional offensive lineman, and they're still unable to get the stop. You know you've got a good offense win. You're out there literally playing against an extra guy. You see their late substitution. That was big Ryan Watson trying to get out there because of that additional little lineman. And they're in that J.W. Walsh package. You need to come up with a name for that package when he's in there. He's almost like a wildcat.
Well, they are the Cowboys, so something along that theme would be good. Wild West.
That's a great name. Yeah, listen, if they keep using it, and if Chelf is the quarterback going forward, you know that they will. That's not a bad moniker for that package.
Oklahoma State, the last 3 drives, 17 plays, 125 yards, and 3 touchdowns. So now Purdue will start at the 25. Mostert takes a knee. Now let's see what Purdue does now. Interim head coach Patrick Higgins was the wide receivers coach to start the year. Named head coach for the bowl game. He's also been handling offensive coordinator duties because Gary Nord, 4th-year offensive coordinator, has been bothered by a real bad back, and it's kept him from coaching here in the last month.
Well, we talked to Coach Higgins and mentioned, these additional duties. He said, look, I've spent time at the Division III, Division II, 1AA levels. I'm used to this sort of workload. That's what those coaches deal with every day.
Marv to Ralph Bolden. Nothing along the right side. Gilbert making the tackle, the corner. And of course, Darrell Hazel, hired December 5th to take over at Purdue, the MAC Coach of the Year after an 11-2 season with Kent State. He is in attendance here today, and we hope to get a chance to talk to him.
What he was able to do at Kent State, 2 seasons, stay on with that football team and coach them through the bowl game, which is somewhat unique, especially this season. Only coach that's doing that.
2nd and 7, play fake, Marv, complete. Just a 1-yard pickup from Gabe Holmes as Shamil Gary was quick to wrap him up.
Shamil Gary, we've called his name numerous times and visiting with Bill Young, D coordinator for Oklahoma State earlier this week. He mentioned that injuries at the safety position, these guys, Gary and Lowe, they both played over 1,000 snaps this year. That's a lot of reps, as thin as they were in their backfield, and Gary having a heck of a game in this one.
Just the second conversion on 3rd down for Purdue. Now the ball comes loose. Oklahoma State says they have it. Yeah, and they do. Turned over at the 45-yard line and recovered by the Cowboys as Purdue continues to struggle here in Dallas.
I'll be surprised if they don't take a look at this one again.
The ball was ruled to be caught, subsequently fumbled, and recovered by the defense. 1st down, Oklahoma State.
That's Gabe Holmes, the tight end. Did he have possession?
If he did possess it, he's down. To me, it's, look, if he does possess it.
Preceding play is under further video review.
And you see it there. So if you're ruling it a complete pass, then he's down. Because to me, it seems as if it's incomplete, if the ball is not possessed by Holmes right here, and you see him juggling a great job of keeping the ball in front of him. And you see the ball, he's kind of got it cradled between his legs, but he's down before it actually is not completely loose. It's already loose right here. You see Daytwan Lowe comes in and levels the hit, but you see him, if he's still possessing it to complete the catch, then to me, he's down before the ball actually comes out.
It's Pac-12 officiating crew, including the replay official, Jim Northcutt. And he's taking a look at it here upstairs at the Cotton Bowl in Dallas.
That's a pretty clear look at it, too. And, it has to be irrefutable video evidence. They got to take a look at it and say, look, The ruling on the field says it's a fumble. I have to see something clearly that says that this was either an incomplete pass or that he was already down. And to me there, you see the ball already squirting out when Lowe comes in, but he still maintains possession.
After further review, the ruling on the field stands. First down, Oklahoma State.
Wow, second turnover for Purdue. And they're going to start this drive in plus territory. Lindell Johnson. Forced the turnover, and Joe Mitchell recovered it.
You see the turnover margin from a year ago, plus 21. They had one fewer turnover lost at Oklahoma State this year. On the minus side of the ledger, that's how many they got a year ago.
Chelf going to be sacked at the 41. Chelf said he got rid of it.
The quarterback was ruled down before the pass was thrown. Second down.
But they are going to give K1 Short, first team All Big Ten defensive tackle, potential first-round draft pick, the sack. That's a loss of 11.
He's a guy, he's been injured a lot this year, a lot of lower body injuries. If it wasn't an ankle, it was a knee or a hamstring. But you see they're unable. I don't know if his right knee was down before he was able to get that football off.
It's his 7th sack of the year. You mentioned it. He played through a lot. Not only is he talented, but he has proven durable, and he is going to be attractive to NFL teams.
Yeah, they say that he's healthy in this ball game. He's able to make his presence felt on that one. But in the center of this Purdue defense, oftentimes, you'll see him. He's right here over the center.
A draw play. Randall. It's a chunk of it back. It's going to bring up third down. Charlo makes the tackle for Purdue. Up 3rd and 10.
Big opportunity for Purdue to get this stop, get the ball back to their offense. Good job of the defense of forcing this third down off a quick change.
Excuse me, 3rd and 18. Randall in the backfield. Chelf in time to throw, man wide open, but the pass a little off target for Isaiah Anderson, the senior from Wichita Falls. One of 5 different Cowboys receivers with at least 300 yards receiving this year. And that's incomplete, brings up 4th down.
Yeah, working on Frankie Williams again, and Isaiah, you know, he was a guy that earlier this season missed multiple ball games. It helped allow, I think, Josh Stewart to emerge as one of their primary targets in their receiving game. That time, that's a touchdown if he's able to get the ball in bounds.
Purdue down 21. We'll have the ball back when we come back. It's the second possession that Oklahoma State failed to score points. Back at the heart of Dallas Bowl here at the Cotton Bowl in Dallas. Oklahoma State leading by 3 touchdowns. Reason to believe, though, if you're a Purdue fan, a couple of times this year, near misses. Talked about the Notre Dame loss, and then on the 20th of October, they almost beat Ohio State. Keem Hunt, here he is coming out of the end zone, a 100-yard kickoff return for a touchdown. Extra point on the first Purdue touchdown blocked, and it hurt. Ohio State tied the game with a touchdown. And the final was 29-22, Ohio State in overtime. Purdue didn't quit in the season after that 5-game losing streak in Big Ten play. They won their last 3 games to get bowl eligible, and they can't show any quit here today, Matt.
No, I don't think you'll see it either. You know, they're playing for each other in this one, obviously, playing to impress perhaps a new coaching staff, obviously with a new head coach and Daryl Hazel coming in. West Lafayette, you know, they want to make sure that they acquit themselves well in this ball game.
Robert Marv in the offense going back to work for the Boilermakers. Shavers running hard for the first down. That's an 11-yard pickup.
You know, this is one way that they can get it accomplished. You know, get that ground game established again. You know, the turnover on the previous possession, turnovers have been a story for the Purdue offense tonight. or today rather, but Shavers, 2 possessions ago, was able to get established on the ground, a big 24-yard gainer if they can get him rolling again.
And they go back to Shavers. This time, hitting the backfield is going to turn it into something positive. Driven down at the 30-yard line. That's his 7th carry. He's now got close to 70 yards on the ground. And Shavers was a guy they looked to down that stretch. In those 3 wins, Shavers was really effective to help get them bowl eligible, and they're looking to him now again.
And they decided to say, look, we're going to get the ball to 2 guys in our run game. We want Ralph Bolden, when he's healthy, to be carrying the football, and we want primarily Akeem Shavers to get his touches. And that's what I think was able to establish that running game when Patrick Higgins took over the play call.
Sixth-year senior Robert Marv looking downfield. Now comes to the near sideline. Shavers wide open. First down and more. Across midfield, dances out at the 45-yard line. Akeem Shavers, we talked about his receiving ability. He's about as good as any wide receiver Purdue has.
On the previous hit, coming out, we saw Ohio State. They hit Shavers out of the backfield. They're going to hit him out of the backfield here as well. Kind of a short rollout. He was the up back, rather. And you see him there able to roll to his right, Robert Marv, and then hit Shavers there on the sideline. Good hands, able to get yards after the catch.
Ball comes loose. Purdue able to recover. It's Ralph Bolden in a lot of trouble, and this is going to be a big loss for the Boilermakers. It'll be a loss of 6, and now some tempers flaring as a penalty flag comes in late. Well, after the 25-yard gain, a loss of 6 for Purdue.
We were talking about the previous offensive possessions, really 2 series ago. They get the big run by Shavers, 24-yarder, able to get about 50 yards on the ground.
After the conclusion of the play, personal foul, unnecessary roughness. Number 99 of the defense, 15-yard penalty, first down Purdue.
Big 12 newcomer of the year, Calvin Barnett with the foul.
But what slowed Purdue down on that possession and ended up resulting in a missed field goal was some ball handling issues. And the ball ended up on the ground here. Bolden wisely get it, and you see there Barnett just getting into Gabe Holmes there at the end. The officials saw it first. Usually it's the second guy. Holmes is going to retaliate. It's usually him that gets the second guy that gets the penalty, not in this instance.
First and 10, Marv cranks, throws, incomplete. Crosby Wright, the tight end, former walk-on and team captain for Purdue. Can't haul it in, second down. You see the numbers, Purdue a time of possession advantage, a yardage advantage, but score is the only thing that matters.
Well, when you get big punt returns, you got a short football field, 2 turnovers. Oklahoma State's enjoyed pretty good field position in this ball game. Not a lot of yardage needed.
Only the second time in plus territory for the Boilermakers, and Bolden barely gets back to the line of scrimmage. Tyler Johnson, the converted linebacker, makes the tackle. It's going to bring up another 3rd and long for Purdue.
You see Johnson right here with his hand on the ground, defensive end position, so they got him playing on the line, and he just closes from the backside. Bolden looked a little unsure on his track. As he approached the line of scrimmage, he may have considered cutting it back. Tyler Johnson made him regret it.
Purdue just 1 of 5 today on 3rd down. Has 3 receivers to the right, but he pitches to Bolden on the near side. Still don't think he got the first down. Shamil Gary, who's been very good here in the first half, makes the tackle. It's an 8-yard gain short of what they needed for the first down.
And they're going to go for it right here. I think it makes plenty of sense to do that too. At this point in the game, you recognize missed field goal. Here's your chance to see if you can take an opportunity at this good field position, aided by the penalty on 2 snaps ago.
Marv wants to throw, has a man, incomplete. Kurt Freitag was wide open, nobody within 5 yards of him. And they turn it over on downs.
Oklahoma State, kind of similar to what Purdue had going on, with difficulty lining up, and Marv, the ball's just a little too high for Freitag. He's got a sure first down if he's able to handle this football off the play fake, a short rollout, which they like to do. And Marv, who's usually very good, very accurate throwing on the run, that time unable to deliver it on the mark.
More from Dallas after this timeout.
Anish Shroff in studio. South Carolina taking on Michigan in the Outback Bowl. Third play from scrimmage for the Gamecocks. Connor Shaw deep to Demir Bird. 56 yards for the score. Gamecocks strike first, 7-0.
All right, good start for the Gamecocks there. Great start in this one in Dallas for Oklahoma State. We're at the heart of Dallas Bowl on this New Year's Day. It's a cold one. And very cold is the offense of Purdue.
You know, they had some opportunities. We've seen now 2 of their better opportunities in plus territory. Bobbled exchanges, getting them behind in the down and distance. And you see the results of their efforts in this first possession when they started on their own 8 right here. You know, they had a fake punt that extended that series just a little bit, ended up punting it away, and it was a huge return by Josh Stewart that set up that first Oklahoma State touchdown.
Clint Chelf is going to hand off to Joseph Randall, the leading runner in the Big 12, but this time no gain. 7-5 Oklahoma State. Of course, last year went 12-1, Big 12 and Fiesta Bowl titles. But you talk to Mike Gundy and he'll tell you this is one of the most satisfying seasons he's ever enjoyed. Chelf's going to keep it himself. He can run. And that's a good carry. About 9 yards on that run for the junior from Enid, Oklahoma, Clint Chelf.
I'll tell you, of the things that he's done well in this ball game, and you could point to several things, you know, his ball handling, I think, is excellent. You know, some of the ball fakes that he has, and they've done a good bit of that, you know, fake handoffs, etc. You know, he's a magician. The sleight of hand is one of the things that I think clearly they've worked on. Todd Monken, now departed, former quarterbacks coach, should be proud of the play fakes that he gets out of Clint Chelf.
He's given himself a third manageable situation. Wants to throw deep downfield, looking for more, and it's incomplete, but a penalty flag comes in. Frankie Williams, who comes in nickel situations. Looks like he's going to get the PI.
Pass interference. Number 2 of the defense not playing the ball. 15-yard penalty. First down.
Not playing the ball. Interesting. There's a lot of hand fighting. You could see that there. Well, he didn't get his head around, but you'll see Williams. And they've liked this matchup all game long. And you can see him. I don't know, it looked like pretty good coverage to me. As it is, it ends up being the penalty and a free first down and yardage for an Oklahoma State offense that doesn't need either.
There's Randall again. Brian Russell has fought through some ankle injuries this year. Also a bad knee makes the tackle. A 1-yard pickup, second down.
You know, by and large, you know, this Purdue defense has done a good job keeping Joseph Randall under wraps. Largely because they haven't had to go to the run game. Oklahoma State's enjoyed some success, good field position. Ryan Russell, on a number of occasions, though, doing a good job identifying who has the football, and they knew that their front 7, specifically their front 4 for Purdue, needed to play well in this ball game. Turnovers have hurt their efforts, though.
I've already seen a sack for K1 Short. Stewart on the receiver's screen. Knocked out at the 42-yard line. Gain of 6. The Rose Bowl game is on ESPN later this New Year's Day. The Badgers taking on the Cardinal. The granddaddy of them all, the Rose Bowl, presented by Vizio. Wisconsin at number 6 Stanford. It's Charlie Moore again, and he's going to be close to an Oklahoma State first down. A little trivia for you coming up later regarding the Rose Bowl. I want you to start thinking about the last time you saw an unranked team playing the Rose Bowl game. That's what Wisconsin is at 8-5.
Oh, wow. A 5-loss team making it to the Rose Bowl. That's a tough question. Granddaddy of them all.
5.5 to go here before halftime. A lot of time to throw again for Chelf. Man wide open. Josh Stewart Down to the 5. A 31-yard completion. Chelf to Stewart, and here they are in the red zone again.
You see once again making them pay, and Oklahoma State's going to jump the football after a big completion.
Quick handoff to Jeremy Smith. Walks right in, touchdown. Boy, the Cowboys making it look easy here in Dallas.
This is where they like Josh Stewart, up here in the slot. He's just going to head, you'll watch him, he heads towards the post, and then he breaks it back outside towards the corner. And you see the exchange in the secondary for Purdue, and he gets lost in coverage, leading receiver for one of the most prolific passing offenses in the country. You can't afford to forget what number 5 is.
And that makes it 28-0. Jeremy Smith capping off the 7-play, 72-yard drive in 2 minutes and 33 seconds. Smith, an excellent compliment to Randall. And the Cowboys having a lot of fun here on New Year's Day in the Big D.
Hi, I'm Anish Shroff. Coming up at halftime, we'll preview the Rose Bowl and Monday's BCS National Championship game. Plus, we'll check in on the 3 other Big Ten teams all playing right now. That's Michigan, Nebraska, and Northwestern. Clay?
Okay, Anish, we'll see at halftime. 5:12 to go before the half here in Dallas. 28-0 Oklahoma State, trying to get its 8th win of the year. Last touchdown, again, some lineup trouble for Purdue.
Good news is that they're playing with only 11 guys, so it's within the scope of the rules, but they're just not lined up. And, you see, offenses are able to change and shift gears and play fast, run a play very quickly. They hit the big completion to Stewart, and then they get over the football quickly. Purdue's unable to substitute.
Well, the last 5 drives, 4 touchdowns for the Cowboys. Can't help but feel for Patrick Higgins. He's got a lot on his plate. He's calling the plays. He's the interim head coach. And, he's also thinking about his future. He's probably been busy looking for his next job. From the 4-yard line, this is Mostert again. Right up the middle. And down at the 26-yard line. Let's go down to the sidelines and Kaylee.
Clay, for the second time, that front 7 of the Purdue defense is getting a lecture from their coaches. Know where you need to be and know when you need to be there. Of course, the first time I heard that was after that score by Oklahoma State with 12 men on the field. And again, just as you guys pointed out, more trouble for this defense lining up.
Yeah, it's not only where you need to be after the ball snap, but lining up before the ball snap and recognizing where you fit in the defense. Oklahoma State posing problems for Purdue defensively, even when they can line up.
Akeem Hunt, Brandon Cottom in the backfield as they start this series. On 1st and 10, Marv rolling to his right. Has time to throw deep down the middle of the field. Man open right through the hands of Akeem Hunt. Another ball that's dropped should have been caught.
And they had opportunity. You see Akeem Hunt coming out of the backfield, and he just runs what's a seam route straight down the football field. He's open, and I don't think, you see it there, low, didn't really get his hands up. I think Hunt had a clear look at that ball and is just unable to make the reception.
And that counted A for the Boilers. 2nd and 10. 3 receivers to the right. Keep it on the ground, though, to Cottom, sophomore out of Newtown, Pennsylvania. Give him 3. Another 3rd and long situation for Purdue as Barnett makes the tackle.
Well, that's always the challenge when you take a shot on 1st down. If you're unable to make the completion, you got yardage to make up on 2nd. Well, the perfect picture is the 2nd and 3, 2nd and 2. You take a shot and still have 3rd and manageable. In this instance, unable to pick up a lot of yardage on 2nd. You see the woes so far. 1 of 6 on 3rd down attempts tonight for Purdue.
Marv steps up. Eyes still downfield. Now he's going to try and run for the 1st down. Dives for the marker. That's going to be close. And they're going to give it to him. Robert Marv, despite those sore knees, picks up the first.
There's orthopedic surgeons across the country right now that are nervous. They're sitting there thinking, Cal, hey, man, I do a lot of ACL replacements. This is hurting my business here. You see Robert Marv, he doesn't have an ACL, doesn't need it. Look at the mobility. He's able to dive right in front of Lowe for the first down yardage.
3 different ACL injuries in his career, and he's playing on one right now. Wants to throw on first, now feeling some pressure, and he's going to be sacked at the 32. There's Levy again.
Great coverage downfield, and Levy just staying with the rush. You can see him kind of at the top of the screen, and he's just going to keep working. You know, as the ball snapped, and you'll see it, he's able to beat the block of Shavers, but really most of that is just the coverage downfield. Marv has done a good job working the pocket. Levy able to stay with the pressure and get him on the ground.
2nd and 14. Marv fakes the handoff, wants to run. Short pickup, be 3rd and long. You know, this defensive effort so far for Oklahoma State has to feel good. Remember the last couple of games of the regular season against Oklahoma and Baylor? And they gave up a lot of yards. More than 600 yards in each of those games did they give up. But so far, pitching a shutout.
They've done an excellent job, I think. You know, they obviously could have had a 3-and-out to open the game, but regardless, stymieing the Purdue offense even when they were able to get yardage.
Marv, he's going to go down again. Johnson with the sack this time. 4th down.
Again, you know, that clock that runs in quarterbacks' heads. And you see Robert Marv, he's just trying to make something happen for his offense. You rewind to the first play of this series. You know, what could have been if he hits Akeem Hunt, and did. But you see Johnson, you know, both of them, Levy on the sack prior to this one, just persistent in the pressure. And Johnson proving to be a threat in the pass rush mode when he's up in that line of scrimmage.
Stewart back at the 20-yard line for Oklahoma State, has a 64-yard punt return already in this game. Good effort. A short return out close to the 25. The Discover Orange Bowl is on ESPN tonight. MAC champion Northern Illinois looks to make a statement with their high-powered offense. They're going to face ACC champ Florida State. The Discover Orange Bowl, number 15 Northern Illinois, maybe a BCS Cinderella story ready to unfold, taking on number 12 Florida State tonight, 8:30 on ESPN. Of course, Northern Illinois beat Darrell Hazel's Kent State team in a couple of overtimes in the MAC title game. And Hazel will be the new head coach at Purdue.
Well, he certainly has an appreciation, I think, for Northern Illinois and what they bring. Certainly Jordan Lynch, 364 yards a game. Unbelievable.
Yeah. First charge timeout, Oklahoma State.
Lynch might be one of the most talented quarterbacks in the country.
Timeout.
And a lot of people haven't heard about. Get a good look at him tonight.
There's so many dual threat quarterbacks that we've seen. You know, you think about Robert Griffin III out of Baylor a year ago and what he's doing in the pros this season. You know, this year with another Heisman Trophy winner, Johnny Manziel. But then you look at Jordan Lynch and the numbers he's put together, you know, eclipsing both of them.
28-0 Oklahoma State. As we're winding down here in the first half, Purdue has really shot itself in the foot on several occasions.
Yeah, and really, Oklahoma State doesn't need any help. They're off a tipped ball early. Shamil Gary, you know, missed field goal attempt after what probably their best offensive drive. And then a fumble, Gabe Holmes. A little bit controversial call there, but once again, you know, turnovers for Oklahoma State defense that hadn't had a lot this season.
Joseph Randall, considered the best running back in the Big 12 with the carry. Robert Macy brings him down after a gain of 1. Randall has been pretty quiet today. Hasn't had to be a big star in this offense today because things have really fallen into place elsewhere.
Yeah, Chelf's done a good job delivering the football downfield. They've been blessed with short fields.
This is Anderson. Isaiah Anderson wrestled out of bounds near the 30-yard line. It's going to bring up 35. Lucas, weak side linebacker, making the tackle. Lewis also there.
One of the things that Purdue knew they had to curtail was big plays. They've given up over 40 plays this season, 10 yards or more. That's not necessarily huge plays, but that's a lot of them. In this ball game, you think back to Josh Stewart. As good as this offense can be, you can't afford to give them short fields. Turnovers created that, and big plays make it even worse.
Chelf keeps first down and more. Down at the 43. A designed run play for Chelf, and showing off his feet. It's a gain of 12 and a first down. This defense already just looks gassed, as if it were the fourth quarter already. Chelf sets, throws, almost intercepted and should have been. Antoine Higgs, the middle linebacker, couldn't believe that that ball was right there.
Nothing going Purdue's way right now. I mean, it hit him right in the hands. You see Antoine Higgs, he gets his head around just in time. And you can see they're trying to get the ball, look like Blake Webb. Higgs was right underneath that route, and he knows he missed another tremendous opportunity. Purdue's had quite a few of those.
Randall. Third down. Ricardo Allen, good pursuit. Makes the tackle as we're under a minute to go here before halftime. You're gonna see what Purdue decides to do at halftime as far as adjustments to get back in this game, but certainly Oklahoma State, as we get a timeout from the Cowboys.
Timeout, Oklahoma State.
Mike Gundy's team will be in the driver's seat at halftime. What do you see Purdue doing to get back in this game in the second half?
You know, we hit on the miscues earlier. Ultimately, coming into this game, it was going to be an uphill battle for Purdue. You look at the points that they've been able to generate this season versus Oklahoma State and their offense, and how prolific they are at 44, 45 points a game. You know, they were going to have to try to keep this score manageable and do what they were able to do best down the stretch. What got them bowl eligible was their ability to stay with their rushing attack, and at 28-0, you can't necessarily afford to do that, and especially given the fact that you've had difficulty slowing down this Oklahoma State offense. They've had 2 long drives. Otherwise, it's been short fields generated by turnovers, missed field goal. You know, Purdue's turned the ball over on downs. They've had their chances to pick up first downs. It could be an overthrown ball, but unfortunately, this game got away from them early.
3rd and 9, pumping Chelf, and it'll be dumped. Bring up 4th down as Russell makes the sack. Loss of 3. Again, Russell playing in his home state today, as we're under 30 seconds to go before halftime. And another timeout, this time Purdue calling the timeout.
You see Ryan Russell, that kid's having him a good game.
Yes,
you know,
he is.
There are bright spots out there on the field for Purdue.
This is kind of a microcosm of Purdue's season. Sometimes close. We talked about it in the Notre Dame and Ohio State losses. You know, they came so close to knocking off those 2 superpowers. And this is kind of what we're seeing here today from the Boilermakers. Close, but not good enough.
You know, 2 of those were for 3rd down conversion attempts. You know, the one to Akeem Hunt could have been a big hitter. And then on the defensive side of the ball, just Antoine Higgs unable to come up with the interception. He could have swung the momentum Purdue's way. Either way, you know, they're not lifeless. You can see these kids, the Boilermakers all season, have proven to be incredibly resilient.
3rd punt for Quinn Sharp. He has showed off his leg already here today. He had a punt over 60 yards in the first quarter, and this one pins Purdue deep again with 15 seconds to go before halftime. What a weapon that guy is. Quinn Sharp, first team all Big 12 as a kicker and a punter.
Well, go back to the beginning of the game, and Purdue comes out, stops Oklahoma State. They call timeout to make sure they do a good job on 3rd down and force the punt by Quinn Sharp, and he flips the entire field. And he ends up, you know, booming yet another one. He had 270-plus yarders versus Kansas. You know, the guy is, you know, offensively anyway, he changes the game. Not only a great place kicker, but in the punting, the field position battle.
Looks like Purdue is going to be scoreless in the first half for the first time this season. And Oklahoma State with its 4th first half shutout of the year. Big favorites coming into this game, the Cowboys, but some thought, maybe they won't be inspired by playing in this particular January 1st bowl game. Well, the Cowboys have shown otherwise. Let's go down to Kayla.
Coach, you've controlled the clock, and you've got nearly as many yards on offense as Oklahoma State. How do you translate that productivity into points in the second half?
Well, we just haven't made plays when we've had to make plays. A couple, we had a drop ball here and a play that's passed a little bit high, and then we didn't do a very good job tackling on the punt and return, and a couple penalties on third down. So we just have to clean that up and then come out in the second half and get something positive. But the kids are playing hard.
This is your team to motivate during halftime. What do you say to this team?
Basically what I just told you. We're just beating ourselves right now. If we just do what we're supposed to do, make plays, and still play with passion, we'll be fine.
Thank you, Coach.
Clint Chelf, the quarterback for Oklahoma State, 123 yards passing, a couple of touchdown passes. 4 TDs for Oklahoma State in that first half, 28-0. Now we send you to Anish and Dan for the ESPNU halftime report.
All right, Clay, thank you. A first half where the Cowboys jumping out to a 28-0 lead on Purdue. You look at some of the stats in terms of yards. Purdue fairly close with Oklahoma State, but I know you're big on turnovers, and that's where Purdue has hurt itself.
Yeah, it looks like Purdue trying to catch rattlesnakes there at times and throwing the ball there. So tough day. You got a new head coach, and even Patrick Higgins wasn't the play caller the whole year. Gary Nord was. So tremendous amount of transition for Purdue. You know this as a coach. How tough is that on a team when you have your head coach, Danny Hope, fired at the end of the season? The new guy isn't quite coaching this game, and you're dealing with all the interim and everything that goes with that. It's hard. I think that intangible factor, who wants to be there, who's got a chip on their shoulder, who has the mojo going. You see that in the other game, the Northwestern game. You kind of see that in that game. Speaking of that Northwest.
You're watching ESPN's presentation of Capital One Bowl Week.
The historic Cotton Bowl here in Dallas. Welcome to the 2013 Heart of Dallas Bowl. Great first half for the Oklahoma State Cowboys, leading 28-0 over Purdue. Alongside Matt Stinchcomb, I'm Clay Matvick. So 4-touchdown lead for the Cowboys, Matt. Definitely a good first half for the Pokes. But Purdue has really been the story of this game with mistakes and missed opportunities. Taking nothing away from the Cowboys, but Purdue has hurt itself.
Yeah, credit Oklahoma State for capitalizing on those mistakes. But Purdue, there are plays to be made, and Coach Higgins talked about it going into halftime. They're just not able to do that. They're not able to take advantage of the plays that are right there in front of them. If it's not a first down, big pass to perhaps Akeem Hunt, they can't complete that one. If it's not a third down potential conversion or a fourth down attempt, yeah. Robert Marv just a little bit off on some of his passes, and it's really cost the Boilermakers in the first half.
All right, stats from the first half, and impressed by Chelf. Hasn't done anything spectacular, has really done a nice job running the offense, has a couple of touchdown passes to show for it, and a couple of turnovers for Purdue have led to points.
You know, rewinding to our keys coming into this ballgame, what do you got to do if you're Purdue? Stop Joseph Randall on the ground. Well, they have. I mean, 35 rushing yards for Randall. And you see there in the first half, only 62 yards on the ground for Oklahoma State. The other one was hit some big plays early. The problem is it's been all Oklahoma State that's been handling that. If it's not in the special teams area, it's generating turnovers.
Quentin Sharp has it in the air. And another touchback for Sharp as Purdue will start with the football.
We saw early in this ball game with Robert Marv, a tipped ball. It's kind of a circumstantial turnover, and then what looked to be an incomplete pass ruled a fumble. Gabe Holmes unable to hang on to it, going for it on fourth down. They're rolling to his right, and the ball gets away from him. But this is what was working. Shavers running the football downhill. This toss play, getting blockers out in front of him. This was the long gainer for him in the first half, 24 yards. But a mishandled ball handling in the backfield, yeah. It kind of undid the momentum that they had rolling and led to a missed field goal.
First play for Purdue from their own 25-yard line. Marv incomplete as Akeem Shavers going to go off his hands. He had 94 total yards in the first half. The rest of the team just 78.
Yeah, he's been really crucial to them. We talked about the final 3 games in this ball game here tonight. Really a bright spot for Purdue offensively. They just need to make sure that they still play within themselves. You can't do more than you can on each play. You can't score 28 points on one possession.
Marv checking the play on 2nd and 10. And it's Shavers. They'll run hard for 8 as we go down to Kaylee Hartung.
Clay, I just spoke with Coach Gundy, and despite that rough end to the regular season that his defense had, he's very pleased with their effort today. He says they're tackling well and they're being opportunistic. His only critique was that they're giving Robert Marv too much time. He wants them to put more pressure on Purdue's quarterback. As for his offense, he wants to continue with a balanced attack, Clay.
All right, never satisfied. Pretty good first half, but still looking to tweak some things.
Well, there's always room for improvement. Biggest room in the world is that room for improvement. The coach is never going to say, golly, perfect first half by my guys.
Play fake on 3rd and 1. O.J. Ross has it taken away. Daytwan Lowe headed for the end zone. Daytwan Lowe. Another big mistake by Purdue. And the Cowboys cash in again. Their 3rd turnover today.
And we talked about Oklahoma State last year, 44 turnovers generated, most in 6 years. And you'll see there, great job by Justin Gilbert stripping the ball, and then Daytwan Lowe there to pick it up. And it just seems like Purdue can't stack consecutive plays together offensively.
.37-yard interception returned by Daytwan Lowe, the leader of that Oklahoma State secondary. All Cowboys just underway here in the second half. 35-0 Oklahoma State. Tough situation here for Purdue the rest of the way here in the heart of Dallas Bowl. They're down 35-0. There you see interim head coach Patrick Higgins on the sideline. Daryl Hazel, new head coach for Purdue, hired last month by the Boilermakers, former Jim Tressel assistant at Ohio State. This past year led Kent State to an 11-2 record, and they're going to play in the GoDaddy.com Bowl on January 6th against Arkansas State. It's been quite a month for you, Coach Hazel, as you're here representing Purdue, ready to get on a plane, though, and go back and get Kent State ready for that bowl game. What's this last month been like?
Yeah, I fly out here in about 2 hours and get back up to Kent, and we fly back to Mobile tomorrow morning, so it's been a ride.
Why did you decide to coach Kent State in the bowl game? You didn't have to do that, but you wanted to.
You know what? There's a lot of great young men at Kent State University, and we started something at the beginning of the season, and we wanted to finish it off the right way.
You know, Coach, given that it's a January 6th bowl game, though, and the fact that so oftentimes we see coaches in transition say, I'm going to head on to my new program. Purdue's giving you that latitude, but do you think that is there anything that's been compromised, the fact that it's such a late game?
No, not at all. I think, you have no control over when you play the game. And like I said, we set out a long time ago. It's been 40 years since Kent State's been in a bowl game, so that's pretty special for our young men back at Kent State University.
And Purdue is going to start at the 25, another touchback for Sharp.
You know, Coach, in 2 years, obviously, we're talking about the fact that you decided to coach in that bowl game, but your players wanted you there as well. How did you engender, that much of a strong of a relationship, player-coach, at Kent State so quickly, and how can you do that again here at Purdue?
Well, I think that's very important to success, that the relationship's there, the trust is there, the love is there in order to trust each other on game day. And those things are very critical in success.
A lot of evaluating going on today, I'm sure, in your head. And unfortunately, things just haven't gone the Boilermakers' way here today.
There's been too many turnovers and missed opportunities. And when you're playing a good football team like Oklahoma State, it's hard.
On first down, Going to run the football here. Stopped short of the 30-yard line. That's Shavers. He's played well today, but unfortunately he won't play for you. He's a senior.
Right. We'll take a look at some of these young players on the roster and make sure we develop those guys in the springtime.
What have you liked, what you've seen so far, not maybe even specific to this game, but in whatever time you've had on campus to see this roster?
Well, I think that the nice thing about it is there's a lot of young offensive linemen, and that's where it starts. You got some good young quarterbacks that you can look at. I think from top to bottom, the roster's pretty good right now. We got to support it with some young guys coming in, but it's pretty good from top to bottom. We're just not playing as well as we like to be today.
There's Gabe Holmes with a reception, a gain of 4. It's going to bring up another 3rd down for Purdue. We've seen a lot of those today. Still time to see Purdue show some signs of life in this game, Coach.
Well, I think you need to see how guys are going to play through adversity down the stretch, making sure they take care of the football and all those little things that takes to win championships.
Marv away from center, and that's going to be a 1st down run for Shavers. Robert Marv, another player who won't play for you. He's a 6th-year senior. But I would think that this is the kind of spirit that you want to see in your players at Purdue. He's had a tough career, and he's going out strong here today.
Absolutely. You take a look at some of these guys that have been through some ups and downs, and you like to see them finish out the right way. But you have a lot of support for these guys.
He's a native of Florida, and Danny Hope recruited the state of Florida hard. You said that you wanted to focus more on the Midwest. Why?
Well, I think it's very important to get people in the seats. And if you got guys from the local states of Michigan and Ohio and Indiana, all those states that are right next to us, then you got a chance to get guys in the stands, and then you get the support of the fans.
You really got to get going on the recruiting, too. Signing days in February.
It's coming up pretty quickly.
It really is. And Daryl Hazel, new head coach of the Purdue Boilermakers, joining us here in the booth, ready to get back on a plane and go back and get Kent State ready for the bowl game against Arkansas State on January 6th. This one incomplete. And, Coach, thank you very much. Good luck.
Thank you
at
so
Purdue.
much. All right.
Good luck in the bowl game, too, Coach.
Thank you.
Coach Daryl Hazel, named the new head coach at Purdue last month, and we've got to let him go because he's running to the airport.
He's a man on the move.
Yes,
he is.
That's
a guy that's, you talk about, a foot in both camps, and what a challenge that must be. Obviously evaluating personnel in this ball game, but also preparing the Golden Flashes at Kent State and what could be a historic, history-making bowl win, first in program history.
3rd down at 5. Marv has time to throw, sets, and incomplete. 4th down. And you think about Kent State, you talk about the history, they've already made quite a bit. They almost knocked off Northern Illinois. They lost 2 overtimes in the MAC title game. Otherwise, it might be them and not the Huskies playing in the Orange Bowl.
Right, that's exactly right. And we hit on the bowl calendar. He would actually be able to transition to his duties here at Purdue full-time more quickly. I had it shaken out that way, but regardless, I think of the last time that Kent State had a shot at this, a bowl win, and that was versus Tampa. I believe Nick Saban was a defensive back at Kent State. Not coaching defensive backs, playing defensive back. That's a long time ago.
Well, in that vein, we'll have more trivia when we come back related to the bowl season. 35-0 Oklahoma State here in the heart of Dallas Bowl on New Year's Day. The Rose Bowl game is on ESPN later this New Year's Day. The Badgers taking on the Cardinal in the granddaddy of them all, the Rose Bowl, presented by Vizio. Wisconsin versus number 6 Stanford. Coverage begins at 4:30 today on ESPN and also live on the Watch ESPN app. Meanwhile, here at the heart of Dallas Bowl, all Oklahoma State 35-0 as Cowboys get ready for their first possession of the second half. All right, speaking of the Rose Bowl, who was the last unranked team to play in the Rose Bowl? It's today's Aflac trivia question. All right, Stinch, what do you think?
Could we pick a bowl game with more history that you'd have to cover? You got to pick the oldest one in existence to ask me to reach back that far. Give me a hint, at least, on that.
Think about it. All right, here's a hint. Think a color. That's all I'm going to give you.
A jersey color? There's too many these days, for crying out loud. Thank goodness it's not recent. Surely not. Too many jersey changes to keep up that way.
Joseph Randall, considered a top running back prospect for the draft should he turn pro. I mean, if he comes back, and even if he doesn't, Oklahoma State is going to be sitting pretty good shape next year. They got a lot of talent expected back.
Well, you think if he comes back, you've got the top rusher in the Big 12, Josh Stewart, one of the top receivers, at least likely to be the top returning receiver. A little razzle-dazzle with Stewart and Randall involved on this one.
Josh Stewart out to the 47-yard line. Isaac finally brings him down a 21-yard gain. Let's go to Anish in the studio for an update.
All right, thank you, Clay. Let's start with South Carolina and Michigan. Dylan Thompson in the game at quarterback. 70 yards to Nick Jones. That set up a 4-yard touchdown pass to Ace Sanders. And we'll go back to you.
All right, Anish. Isaiah Anderson flying up the field. And Chelf just missed him. Second down.
Sounds like Coach Spurrier is rotating quarterbacks, as he's often
even
willing to do. Even if everybody's healthy, even if he likes the other guy, you're one incompletion away from being on the sidelines with him. In this ball game, Clint Chelf, when he's had his opportunities, he's done a really good job. Obviously misses on the downfield throw. But from an accuracy standpoint, I think he's surprised me, at least from the film that I watched, at how accurate he's been in this game.
Complete here again to Moore. And he's into Purdue territory at the 49, a gain of 4. Bring up third down and 6 for Oklahoma State.
A wealth of riches for Coach Gundy, though, as he consults his play card there. He was working with offensive line coach Jim Wickline for the run plays, and that contribution is kind of offensive coordinator by committee.
Officials timeout.
Lots of opportunity at quarterback position, and with the way Chelf has played in this ball game, part of his problem, from what we understand, is how he performed in practice. He's a gamer. That's usually a positive thing. But if you're only playing well once a week, it's hard to get you out there.
There's Moore again. Hauls it in at the 21. That is a pretty pass from Clint Chelf to Charlie Moore, who's been one of his favorite targets today. A 28-yard play. First down and 10 at the 21.
He's dialed in. I mean, Chelf, you watch him, he's playing confidently. And really, coming into the season, I think when he was demoted, and I'm sure it was warranted in the practices with the coaches, I'm not so sure he didn't go in the tank a little bit emotionally. Can't blame him necessarily, but when he got his opportunity, he seized it, and he's continuing to build on it with his performance in this game.
Impressive young man. Already has his degree in sports management. Complete to Austin Hayes. Let's go back to that last pass for Clint Chelf.
You see him pressing the football downfield, and you see him place it right where he needs to put it, really. Plenty of room for the receiver to work with. It ended up leading him out of bounds. Great job by Moore getting open, but even better job placement with that pass. Chelf's done that on a number of occasions.
And you see his numbers. Mistake-free today. Randall pulls his way for another Oklahoma State first down. First down and goal to go from the 10-yard line.
And we talked about the motivation for Oklahoma State, how key it was going to be for Purdue to come out and have a strong offensive series in that opening possession. But here you see Oklahoma State marching right back down the football field. Purdue, as resilient as they've been all season long, you kind of feel the energy seeping from that sideline.
Randall, a couple more. The Cowboys have been in the red zone 4 times today. They are 4 for 4, 4 touchdowns.
Big plays for Purdue as well. We mentioned that. They've had difficulty keeping offenses in front of them. In the first half, Josh Stewart able to run wide open. And then here, in this possession with Charlie Moore and the big pass from Chelf, the big chunks versus a defense that's had a hard time slowing down the Cowboys.
Pressure on the edges. They run right up the middle. Randall again inside the 5. This is the first possession of the second half for Oklahoma State. And they're closing in on the Purdue goal line one more time. Look at this. Randall throwing back to Chelf. Why not? 35-0 lead, and maybe trying to take Purdue by surprise. Do you like that call?
No, I don't know. I'm not so sure that you're up 35-0. I think the game is pretty well in hand. Now, you're saying that with a quarter and a half to play. It was unsuccessful, so no harm done. You're able to complete some passes downfield, traditional plays. You want to keep the players interested, of course. I don't know if that one was necessary.
Quinn Sharp comes on for a 20-yard field goal attempt. He has never missed in his career under 30 yards. He doesn't miss here, and it's 38-0 Oklahoma State. Cowboys have it in control here in Dallas. Let's take a timeout and check in the studio with Anish.
All right, Clay, a couple of updates for you. We start with Northwestern and Mississippi State Gator Bowl. Tyrus Jones breaks the tie. Touchdown for the Wildcats. They're up 7. Northwestern hasn't won a bowl game since 1949. And then Todd Gurley, the freshman for Georgia, waltzes into the end zone. 23-14 Dogs in the Capital One Bowl.
All right, Anish, my partner, happy to hear that now, an alum of Georgia. You were a little worried there for a while, but now it looks like things are going better for the Bulldogs.
I'm an impartial observer of college football. Clay.
Sure you are. 38-0 here. Oklahoma State leading Purdue in the heart of Dallas Bowl. 7:15 to go here in the third quarter. And last drive, 11 plays, 72 yards in 4:27. Those Purdue fans, they haven't had any reason really to get up out of their seats today.
No, we were amongst many of them, stayed in the same hotel. A lot of people excited for these prospects. The way the season ended, 3 straight victories, obviously able to get a victory over their in-state rival, Indiana. Probably their best offensive performance of the season in that game. A lot of high hopes coming into this one, given the fact they were able to get healthy. It just hasn't produced a whole lot of results in this game.
Mostert brings it out of the end zone and is stopped at the 20-yard line. All right, let's get the Aflac answer. Aflac trivia question: who was the last unranked team to play in the Rose Bowl?
And it's color related.
Yeah, that's my hint. Color.
I'm going to say Syracuse, the orange. I mean, that's a good guess, is it not?
Well, no.
Oh, brown.
Brown.
Another primary
1916.
color.
Lost to Washington State 14-0 that year. That's how far you have to go back. Find an unranked team that played in that game. Of course, Wisconsin unranked after an 8-5 regular season. It's been an odd year in the Big Ten as Shavers doesn't get back to the line of scrimmage. Of course, Ohio State and Penn State were ineligible for postseason play, so it fell down to Wisconsin this year.
Well, and I think that's partly why there were such high hopes for Purdue, who finished 3-5 in conference play. You got Wisconsin sitting at 4-4, and they kind of backdoor their way into the conference championship game. First time in Rose Bowl history, you end up with a 5-loss team. They'll be represented in the Rose Bowl. But regardless, they earned it. It was 70 points versus Nebraska.
Shavers again, and Barry Alvarez, where he's been so successful in his career, coming back to coach the Badgers. He's won 3 Rose Bowls as head coach of Wisconsin and comes out of retirement, so to speak.
Is there a coach in America that loves the Rose Bowl more than Barry Alvarez? Prior to the playoff scenario, the Rose Bowl was always seen as kind of a hindrance to some of the evolution that we've seen in postseason play in the bowl system. Barry Alvarez was usually the most eloquent, talking about the qualities of having the Rose Bowl intact.
Here's Marv on 3rd and 7. Underneath, bobbled. Shavers hauls it in just across the 20-yard line, but well short of the first down. Lindell Johnson there to make the tackle, and another punting situation for Purdue. Of course, Stanford last year lost in its bowl game to these Oklahoma State Cowboys in the Fiesta Bowl. That's why the expectations were so high for Oklahoma State. Great 12-1 year a year ago. unfortunately, they were hit hard by the injury bug and at a very critical position, the quarterback spot.
Well, you take a look at what Mike Gundy's been able to do since his return to Stillwater. You know, it's good to have high expectations, even in light of losing, you know, your starting quarterback in Weed, Justin Blackman, and they still expect you to compete for conference championships.
They got the Heart of Dallas Bowl in control, leading 38-0 midway through the third. $38-0. Oklahoma State starting the new year out right, and Purdue, well, they got off the bus and things started to go wrong at about that point.
You know, special teams early, and again, the plays that could have been made. 3 tacklers around Josh Stewart. He gets loose, leads to a touchdown pass from Clint Chelf, a perfect ball to Charlie Moore. Robert Marv with the tip ball. And you see once again all night long where they've had chances and a very persistent Oklahoma State defense. Well, you see plays being made. Justin Gilbert creating a fumble, and this return for a touchdown by Daytwan Lowe. That's kind of been the story for Purdue. Even off a completion, it ends up being a touchdown going the other way.
Happy New Year, everybody. Glad to have you along here in Dallas. There's Joseph Randall. Close to a first down on that carry. Antoine Higgs brings him down. You know, Joseph Randall, by his standards, somewhat quiet today, but we mentioned this before. Everything around him has gone so well that he hasn't had to be the focal point.
Well, this is where he starts getting his numbers. His scenarios like this, four-minute drills.
He lost it there, but fortunately he was right next to the sideline. It's a 6-yard pickup, second down.
Yeah, they start shortening the football game, and how do you do it? You do it by running the ball. Joseph Randall, I think, will likely end this ball game with some pretty good-looking numbers, and you got to think that the coaching staff for Oklahoma State would love to see number 1 in their offensive backfield again next year.
Pumping, Chelf down the right sideline to the end zone, still throwing strikes for touchdowns as Clint Chelf. And this time it's Isaiah Anderson.
So much for keeping it on the ground, right? You get a big gainer on the ground, you run play action, still going after the end zone. And, you know, I guess the philosophy is as long as there's time on the clock, it's the defense's job to stop you. See a lot of backups there in the front for Purdue. You see Clint Chelf able to throw another strike. This time Isaiah Anderson able to climb the ladder and make a play for his quarterback.
So many weapons in that receiving corps for Oklahoma State. Anderson, one of 5 different Cowboys with at least 300 yards receiving this year. Chelf has been getting everybody involved here today. That drive, 3 plays, 55 yards in under a minute.
He just looks comfortable, and you see a little bit of a pump fake, a little hitch, and then he's able to get the ball, places it outside, and Anderson turns completely around, able to make the completion. You see Chelf there. That's just kind of run-of-the-mill for this ball game. He's thrown great balls all game.
What's going to happen next year? You got Chelf, you got J.W. Walsh, the redshirt freshman this year. Wes Lunt, who is a true freshman this year. All 3 of those guys expected to be back. It's going to make for an interesting spring and fall.
Well, you got them, and it's kind of distinct skill sets amongst those 3. And you look at Lunt, and I think decidedly the best passer of the 3. But, you know, J.W. Walsh is a guy who who looks like he'll likely get some playing time as he warms up. You know, he's played through a knee injury. He broke the side of his knee. You know, his ligament's intact, unlike most of the players for Purdue. You see Lunt there as well getting loose. But a wealth of riches at the quarterback position.
Wes Lunt started the year number 1. Had the knee injury week 3 and a concussion week 8. It's been a tough year for the true freshman. But they think he has a great future. He certainly has an NFL-type body, 6'4", 211 pounds. Walsh comes from a football family. His dad, a high school coach that just won the state title here in the state of Texas. Very good dual threat. And we've seen what Chelf can do.
You know, and you look at it, and the question is, you know, what is Chelf bringing to the table with these other two quarterbacks healthy? And, you know, they said there really wasn't a whole lot of rhyme or reason. It's rhythm. But I think it's also, you know, the fact that they were more, I think, layered in their offensive approach this year. You know, where it wasn't Whedon and Blackman and let's just let these guys go out and do what they do best, where they could afford to be a little bit more basic. That doesn't mean that you don't have to coach them up. But I think that this Oklahoma State staff, the reason they're proud of their season and clearly have to be proud with their play here today is that they've had to coach a good bit more, I think, and had more wrinkles in their offense. And I think Chelf, in his understanding of it and familiarity, has allowed them to do that.
2nd and 11, complete to O.J. Ross. Boy, those guys have been quiet. O.J. Ross and Antavian Edison. Those two have combined for just 2 catches today coming into the game. 108 catches and 10 touchdowns. Oklahoma State has shut them completely down.
Yeah, and Edison is a guy that, you know, Purdue wants to get the ball in his hands. They just haven't been able to do it. You see him split out wide, man coverage. You think there'd be opportunity. They just haven't been able to capitalize.
Back to the ground on 1st down, Bolden. Hit hard in the front and then tackled from behind by Johnson. And Del Johnson has been very active from the strong side linebacker spot. Going back to the situation that faces Oklahoma State, deciding on who the next quarterback is going to be as a starter come next season. Well, first of all, they're going to have to hire a new offensive coordinator. Unfortunately, Mike Gundy knows how to do that because he's had to do it all too often. Good thing is he's good at it.
Yeah, he is good at it. I mean, ultimately, you know, he has an idea of what he wants offensively. He's been a play caller, offensive coordinator. You know, he's seeded those duties.
Knocked down from behind. Ball loose. There's a scrum for it. Who's got it? Marv was hammered from behind and the ball came out. And it looks like Tyler Johnson knocked that ball loose. And Purdue was able to recover.
You see right here, Johnson, and we've mentioned his name a couple of times. He's done a great job getting pressure off the edge. Swim move, and then he just tomahawks that ball out of there. Robert Marv, it's hard to feel that rush when it's coming from directly behind you, but you have to know ball security is paramount in the pocket.
Marv steps up, has a seam. He's got the 1st down and more. A courageous effort today for Robert Marv. Gain of 15. And the Boilermakers in plus territory.
You know, inspirational leader for this Boilermaker football team is Robert Marv. Obviously playing through injury and playing really well, incidentally. And, you know, he's not scared of contact. You see him at the end of that run, not only picking up yards, lowering his head, and seeing if he can't pick up a few more.
Came back just a month after the injury and then regained the starting job less than 2 months after that torn ACL. Out to the flat, it's Ross. He'll get 3, spun out of bounds by Mitchell. This is the 11th drive today for Purdue. So far, nothing to show for any of them.
You know, that play right there is an element of their offense that I anticipated seeing a little bit more of, actually. The wide receiver screens. They've thrown the ball towards the sidelines, but it seemed as if it hasn't been. It's been more abbreviated in their offensive game plan. But as we indicated, you know, in the first half, they were able to run the ball effectively on a couple of series. The difficulty has been is that Oklahoma State capitalizing on miscues, either in special teams or with turnovers. And it's really forced them, I think, to get away from what they've wanted to do best.
Marv to throw on 2nd and 6. Turning back to make that catch is Akeem Shavers. And it's going to be close to a 1st down. Gain of 6 for Akeem Shavers as we're under a minute to go here in the 3rd quarter. They will move the chains. So Purdue keeps this drive alive. Trying to get on the board.
Well, Akeem Shavers has had a pretty good ball game. He's shown that he's an excellent receiver out of the backfield. He's done a good job, I think, in the run game when they've had their opportunities. You know, and as Coach Hazel mentioned, he likes his offensive front, a very active one, an athletic one that has done a good job in some toss plays as well.
Marv has a man wide open, caught by Cottom, touchdown. And now the Purdue fans have reason to cheer here in Dallas. Brandon Cottom getting the Boilermakers on the board.
This is a play that Purdue runs well, a little short rollout. We've seen Robert Marv do this where he rolls to his right, but he's able to throw it back to his left. Great job by Peters Dre. They're late picking up the rush. And Cottom's able to get behind the coverage and finally get Purdue on the board. You see Robert Marv there. A guy who's kind of a journeyman career, starting it off at Miami, ultimately transferring, suffering through multiple injuries. He's still playing ball, showing that not only that mobility can come in handy, but he can put the ball on some receivers as well.
32-yard touchdown reception by Cottom, the longest play of the game for Purdue. Let's go to the studio in Anish.
All right, Clay, we got a good one in the Capital One Bowl. Nebraska and Georgia going back and forth. Taylor Martinez, little play action. Rex Burkhead, the Huskers with a 1-point lead. Don't forget, after the game you're watching, it's the Under Armour All-American game. A chance to watch Robert Kimdichie, the #1 player in the ESPN 150.
You know, Kimdichie, you and I saw his brother quite a bit for Ole Miss. No one knows how to pronounce that name, but they didn't until this past year when the younger brother became the hottest recruit in the country.
That's true. Denzel Kimdichie, you look at the last name and it's by a vowel. It's however many letters long, like 3 vowels, I think, involved. Great ball player for Ole Miss, though, and obviously his younger brother will be changing someone's life, some coaching staff's life here pretty soon at defensive end position.
Good to see some life from the Boilermakers. This is Justin Gilbert on the return here for Oklahoma State. Running along that 20-yard line, gets across the 25 and out at the 27 with 8 seconds to go here in the quarter. Let's go back to that touchdown. Marv to Brandon Cottom, the sophomore. 6'4", 258-pound back. And he is another Purdue back who's had ACL problems. We've talked about Marv's problems with the ACL at length. Look at this list of injuries involving that particular body part. It's unfathomable that one team would have this many.
Well, look at the positions. I mean, these are all in the offensive backfield. There's a point in time where literally you've got just a couple of ligaments to spare if those guys are in the game at once.
J.W. Walsh back in the game. He is a dual threat, and he'll run on this carry, and it's a first down. Out to the 40-yard line. Already has a touchdown pass, and he is great on his feet, too, as the third quarter comes to an end.
Yeah, physical runner, and he's not a big guy. Not scared, though, to lower his shoulder. Talk about that coaching staff, though. They've done a good job with the various skill sets that they've had at that position.
We go to the fourth quarter here at the Cotton Bowl in Dallas, the Heart of Dallas Bowl. All Oklahoma State. They've had 3 scoring drives under 2 minutes today. Fun offense to watch. Happy New Year.
Get out of Everybody here. Get amped up. Everybody get hands up. Everybody get cranked up. Have a good day.
Oklahoma State has the 4th highest scoring offense in the country at 44.7 points per game. They've already bested that through 3 quarters.
And it was deal a quarterback for them all season long, too. I mean, that staff, we talked with Mike Gundy, and he said basically it was reminiscent of the Apollo 13, where they had to take the offense apart and put it back together.
Yeah.
The astronauts having to rally and do that in space. They're having to do it, in the scope of a college football season. They pulled it off.
J.W. Walsh, the redshirt freshman from Denton, Texas, in there at quarterback now for the Cowboys. Throws to Blake Webb, who makes a nice catch. A true freshman from Woodlands, Texas. A lot of Texas natives in this game for Oklahoma State.
Great grab by Webb. Another guy, Austin Hayes, another freshman that stepped up for them at the receiver spot.
Now Jeremy Smith. This is such a big game for Oklahoma State in many ways because of the recruiting aspect. Mike Gundy knows that.
Well, you know what? If you're a skill player and you live in Texas, that's a heck of a grab right there by Blake Webb, Texas guy. Why would you not want to play in this offense? I mean, even this year, you would think that there'd be a little bit of a drop-off. Hardly at all. And you've got guys that are playing on Sunday that were running this offense a year ago, and they just continue to generate.
Jeremy Smith cashing the defense inside the 30, down around the 27-yard line. Smith was expected to have a bigger role this year, but an ankle injury flared up about mid-season. Still, he has been a nice compliment to Joseph Randall.
And, you know, if Randall leaves, you know, they like what they have in Jeremy Smith. Different type player, but obviously they'd be able to plug and play with him as well.
Oklahoma State still throwing. That's what they do. Walsh to the end zone looking for Anderson. Ball comes out. Walsh trying to hit the senior Anderson as they still take shots at the end zone despite leading 45-7.
Yeah, and you know, I think what we're seeing here is perhaps an audition that they say that wasn't going to go on. You know, here's your quarterbacks. You got 3 different guys that have started. This is meaningful game experience, so get out there and let's see what you can do. And I can't find that out if I just turn and hand the ball off. So you see Walsh, you know, operating the offense, you know, as if it was still a competitive score.
Now Smith again. You just saw Chelf with his helmet off. Presumably his day is done. Be interesting to see if we get a look at Wes Lunt, the true freshman, who was actually the #1 guy coming out of camp this year.
Yeah, you know, the kind of progression at the quarterback spot's a little bit interesting. I'm surprised maybe that Lunt didn't get in there, given that Walsh had more time and even played a role when Chelf carried the load towards the back end of the season. Yeah, but as it is, you see Walsh, that's more of the runner, getting opportunities to press the ball downfield.
Complete first down. Anderson again. 3rd catch for Anderson. That one for 10 yards and a first down.
And having said all that, at the same time, given the score, it's a little bit difficult to watch when you're airing it out still.
Penalty flag as Desmond Rowland gets a carry. Product of Lake Highlands High School here in Dallas. This is quite a pipeline.
Illegal formation. 5 players in the backfield against the offense. 5-yard penalty. First down will be repeated.
And we'll go against the Cowboys, but Mike Gundy has recruited the Metroplex of Dallas-Fort Worth well since coming to Stillwater, and he hopes to continue to do that in the future. Having a good day here today right in Dallas will certainly help.
A lot of talent, obviously, in this state. Recruiting pools, a hotbed for skill players and otherwise, and in this offense.
Or razzle-dazzle. Stewart looking to throw, lobs it downfield, it's caught. And that's going to be close to a first down for Anderson. Boy, it wasn't pretty. I'm not sure that that's the way they drew it up, but it was effective nonetheless.
Yeah, passing the football, running a couple of reverses. 45-7 ball game with 12 minutes, 40 seconds to play.
It's got to rankle that Purdue sideline.
Yeah, you know, it's their job to stop them. And at the same time, you know, you're running the risk at some point of looking as if you're taking advantage of the situation.
Oklahoma State.
And now Oklahoma State uses a timeout.
Timeout on the field.
There's Mike Gundy. Has his team inside the red zone again, already up 45-7. They're still pulling tricks out of their bag here at the Heart of Dallas Bowl. A lot of Cowboys fans here in Dallas made the trip down I-35 for the Metroplex. Happy with what they've seen here today. There's Des Bryant. He's holding crutches. Of course, now a receiver for the Dallas Cowboys. They were eliminated this past weekend. And from going going on into the postseason. Des Bryant, what a career he had at Oklahoma State.
Productive one, kind of a turbulent one, obviously. But sure did put up a ton of yards. And it really, when you look at it, not that surprising. When you look at some of the other production of receivers in this offense.
Desmond rolling inside the 5. Mike Gundy called that timeout because they only had 10 players on the field at the time. It was a little peculiar, the timing of that timeout, but that's the reason why.
Yeah, you still want to be out there. You know, maybe they only need 10 players in this ball game, the way it's gone for Purdue, but ultimately you still want your full complement of offensive players on the field.
Walsh, already 1 touchdown pass in this game, looking for another. That is caught, but Moore was out of bounds, incomplete. 3rd down and goal. Ricardo Allen in on the coverage for the Boilermakers, a junior for Purdue, and he's expected to be back for Darrell Hazel.
Yeah, he was banged up this season. They had big hopes for him. Really, that's kind of the story for Purdue. A lot of guys that were playing through injuries throughout the bulk of the season. It's true for any team in college football, so no excuses there necessarily, but it certainly impacts play. They're hoping their ability to get healthy would change their fortune in this ball game. That hadn't been the case.
11th play of the drive, and Rowland gets back to the line of scrimmage, and that's it. He runs right into the arms of Ryan Russell, who has played well here today in his home state.
Yeah, you know, we mentioned Akeem Shavers. Ryan Russell's had a pretty good ball game for Purdue defensively. Played hard. All these kids have really, and you look at both of these teams, obviously Oklahoma State, they finished 7-5. Purdue had to do all that they could to make it to a 6-win season, finishing at 500. A lot of resilience, I think, demonstrated by both these sidelines.
Quinn Sharp, good from 20 earlier in this game, now from 21. He just doesn't miss from that range. Hits again. Oklahoma State adds 3 more. 48-7 here in the heart of Dallas Bowl on New Year's Day. ESPN College Football, the Heart of Dallas Bowl, is brought to you by Sonic. Grilled cheese just went up a notch. The all-new Ultimate Grilled Cheese Sandwiches from Sonic. A historic Cotton Bowl located here at State Fair Park, the home of the Texas State Fair. Cotton Bowl has held the 2nd most bowl games right behind the Rose Bowl. This is the 76th bowl game held in this great old stadium. 73 Cotton Bowls, of course, and this is the 3rd year of the Ticket City / Heart of Dallas Bowl. This is now called the Heart of Dallas Bowl. And it's all Oklahoma State here, 48-7. 11:21 to go here in the 4th quarter.
Cook up some obscure trivia question for me from the 1916s, the teens.
No, you failed so miserably last time. I'm not going to do that to you again.
Brown, unbelievable. Brown versus Washington State, right? The last time an unranked team versus in the Rose Bowl. Unbelievable.
They call this stadium the house that Doak Walker built. A great SMU running back from back in the day, as Mostert gets out close to the 35. The Discover Orange Bowl is on ESPN tonight. MAC champion Northern Illinois, who we talked about earlier, number 15 in the country. BCS Busters taking on ACC champs Florida State. The Discover Orange Bowl. Northern Illinois, Florida State, 8:30 tonight on ESPN. Also live on the Watch ESPN app. Northern Illinois beat Darrell Hazel's Kent State team in 2 overtimes in the MAC title game. Bjorn Warner, 13 sacks, tied for most in the FBS. Great defensive end for the Seminoles. What do you think of the year he's had? As that pass is incomplete from Marv. 2nd down for Purdue.
As a former offensive tackle, it makes me nauseous. 13 sacks, unbelievable. You know, that's a guy you think Brandon Jenkins was the other guy coming off the edge for FSU. They lose him early. And they just found other ways to pressure. That's another coaching transition. Mark Stoops, D coordinator for FSU, now the head coach of Kentucky. You see Mike Gundy. We talked about him losing yet another coordinator. This time Todd Monken going down to Southern Miss. He lost Larry Fedora to Southern Miss. Just feeding head coaches down there.
Marv sprinting out, looking to cut the corner, can't do it. He is stretched out to the far sideline. by the corner Broderick Brown, a loss of 1. And another Oklahoma State Cowboy is slow to get up.
That's Alex Elkins, and he was in pursuit of Robert Marv. We just mentioned, good to see him back out on the field. And that was a non-contact injury. Marv just gave him a little bit of a fake, and as Elkins tried to adjust, he went down. And that knee may be more injured. He probably gutted it out to get back out on the field. Young man's had a lot of setbacks. Was a pitcher in high school, North Gwinnett High School in Georgia. Broke his hand, ended his career. Thought he was going to be able to go play professional baseball. He's re-envisioned his athletic career as a linebacker in football, a sport that he hadn't played, as you mentioned.
Yeah. Well, for the second time today, he comes off to the sideline, this time limping a little bit, however. We'll see if Alex Elkins returns to this football game with 10:31 to go in the fourth quarter. Second down and 11 after a loss of a yard. Edison goes in motion. Marv wants to throw off his back foot, looking for Edison. No, that's Shavers with the catch. And now the ball comes out. And Oklahoma State has it again. Broderick Brown with the takeaway for the Cowboys. Fourth turnover today for Purdue.
It looks like Shavers shaking up on the play. It was a great catch by Shavers in traffic. As you mentioned, it looked like Marv was going to try to get it to Edison after he came through the backfield. Shavers able to come down with it, but the ball got stripped. Robert Kugler, once again, right guard for Purdue. He got a tackle on the big punt return in the first quarter. He makes the tackle on this one as well after the turnover. You see Shavers in traffic, though, coming down with it. And the ball just gets raked out by Tyler Johnson, who's had a whale of a game as well.
That's the second time he's caused a fumble, man.
Yeah, that's, I mean, he and Ryan Russell both. They've had a good game from their defensive end positions, but you see there, it could be a tough ending, insult to injury or injury to insult after this ball game there, Akeem Shavers.
Now the senior Akeem Shavers in his final collegiate game will be helped off the field.
We've got an update from the Gator Bowl. Mississippi State quarterback Tyler Russell threw his fourth interception. It was returned 44 yards by Northwestern's Nick Van Hoos. That led to a Vendrick Marf touchdown. Northwestern up 2 scores, a little more than 8 minutes away from their first bowl win in 64 years.
Thank you, Anish. Back here at the heart of Dallas Bowl, it's 48-7. Oklahoma State has just recovered another Purdue fumble. They've had 4 turnovers today. And Shavers, who was victimized on that play, he had the ball stripped by Tyler Johnson. The Boilers turn it over. Shavers, all in all, a pretty good day, 147 total yards, but another Boilermakers error.
Yeah, and you see the ball clearly comes out. Tyler Johnson covering down from his defensive end position. Broderick Brown there to make the recovery. Looks to me like Shavers, his day is likely done. It's one of the lone bright spots, I think, for Purdue in that first half.
Unfortunately, his college career likely done. He's a senior. And Oklahoma State has it again. Desmond Rowland. Total offense today for Oklahoma State, up over 400 yards. And Nick Rockwell getting into the act. Junior out of Fort Worth. So another local. And that's a first down for the Cowboys, again in plus territory.
You kind of see that battery. They're continually working for them. Quarterbacks, receivers, running back position, these skill players for the Cowboys. They're continually able to find ways to be productive, even with some backups in here in this ball game.
Rowland again. Bring up second down and 5.
You think about it with Coach Gundy, back when he was at Oklahoma State as a quarterback even. He had his playmakers surrounding him as well. The Barry Sanders of this world, that certainly comes in handy.
And a first down for the Cowboys as Rowland picks up 6 more yards. This is an offense that has scored 50 points or more 4 times this year. They may be looking to do that again here on this series. Yeah, Mike Gundy, he was a pretty good quarterback in his day, and he had some talent around him, didn't he?
Well, he had, one of the most heralded recruits to come out of the state of Texas, Hartley Dykes. It was back in 1988, I believe, when he signed with the Cowboys.
Walsh to the end zone, another Cowboys touchdown. Blake Webb, as Oklahoma State has been relentless on Purdue here today.
Apparently, this is the MO, regardless of the status of a ball game. They can point out that they've got some backups, an offensive front, some new faces in there. J.W. Walsh, effectively a starter for them, and they're still taking shots into the end zone. And they're having some success, continued success, as they have just about all day long.
Blake Webb, another Texas native, a true freshman with his first career touchdown. It comes in his home state in the heart of Dallas Bowl on New Year's Day. Of all the bowl games this season, Purdue was the biggest underdog coming into its game. And it's turned out to be a lopsided contest. 55-7, still 8:32 to play here in the fourth quarter. What do you make of the way Oklahoma State is still throwing to the end zone?
Yeah, there was a point in time where you can almost allow yourself to think, okay, maybe some evaluation going on at the quarterback position, but I think there comes a point in a ball game where I think the point's been made. The victory is clearly in hand. I don't really understand what they're trying to accomplish at this point. Frankly, the fact that you're still throwing in the end zone downfield like that, I'm sure someone's paying attention somewhere, and you've got an interim coach on the other sideline. This is amateur athletics. You're up 48 points, and you're still dropping bombs in the end zone. Obviously, Purdue wants to be able to stop them. The last thing you want is to be pitied, and at the same time, there's some sportsmanship. There's competitiveness, but there's also an element there that needs to, I think, be respected.
Can't help but feel for Patrick Higgins here today. He said he was blessed to have this opportunity, but it's turned into a nightmare here on New Year's Day. 55-7 with 8:25 to go here in the fourth quarter. The 55 points by Oklahoma State already ties for the most points in a bowl game ever played in this season. You said it before, this is bowl game number 76 here in the historic Cotton Bowl.
Play. First down, Purdue.
Patrick Higgins, of course, he's spending his free time, whenever he had during the bowl prep, looking for a job, looking out for his future and his family.
Well, Darrell Hazel, new head coach at Purdue, evaluating players. It sounds like he's also evaluating some of the coaches that are still on this staff. Many of them will be transitioning and coaching somewhere else, obviously, next season.
Ralph Bolden. And he'll get 1 yard. Drew Brees, famous Purdue alum, winner of a Super Bowl, his quarterback for the Boilermakers from 1997 to 2000. What an NFL career he has had. Almost 5,200 yards passing this year, 43 touchdowns this season for a Saints team that didn't make the postseason, and those numbers for him were down from last year.
That's what's amazing. Then you take into account, too, that Sean Payton, not only their head coach, but a brilliant play caller.
Oh, no. Another turnover for Purdue. And that pass intercepted by Andre May.
Yeah, it's been that kind of day for this Purdue offense. The ball gets tipped, it deflects off the hands of the receiver there, and you see it over across the middle. He's just trying to get it in there, and you see it stay with the ball in the air. Crosby Wright unable to come down with it. And now the question is does Oklahoma State run the football, or do they continually try to go up top and put more points on the board? 7.5 minutes to play and a 48-point lead.
Marv had just 3 interceptions throughout the entire regular season. Now remember, he was banged up for a lot of that time, but he's already had 2 today. Wes Lunt now into the game, the 3rd quarterback for Oklahoma State. They continue to throw it, and Anderson with that catch. 7.5 to go.
Yeah, Coach Gundy took his headsets off. I don't know if he's not calling the plays anymore, and maybe somebody else is handling the play call. Maybe a grad assistant's over there wanting to make a name for himself.
Wes Lunt, incomplete. Again, he was the starter at the beginning of the year coming out of camp, but injured his knee in week 3. Also had a concussion, but he is going to be a good one. At least that's what the coaches tell us. All indications are that he has great talent. Physically 6'4", 211 pounds. He's going to grow into that frame yet, too. Lunt off balance, another throw, and another incompletion.
You can see the zip on the ball, though. I mean, it does look different coming out of his hands, and you can see why the coaches at Oklahoma State, they're really excited, I think, about what Wes Lunt can become at the quarterback position, certainly at the helm of this type of offense with the weapons around him.
And they run it, and it's 4th down. Caleb Moncrief with that carry. Immediately following our coverage of the Heart of Dallas Bowl, you're going to be able to watch the trophy presentation live from the Cotton Bowl here in Dallas on ESPN3, or turn on ESPN3 immediately following our coverage of the Heart of Dallas Bowl for all of the post-game festivities. I'm going to attempt a field goal here. It's Quinn Sharp. From 42 yards, he's already got a 20 and a 21-yarder, and he tacks that one on 2. 58-7.
See Oklahoma State, this is a pretty impressive exclamation point on a season that, easily I think could have gone a totally different direction. We've already, I think, well documented the fact that they've had to change course, shift gears because of the quarterback spots, but even defensively, it wasn't nearly as successful on that side of the ball. Held them to fewer yards, but the turnovers just weren't there for Oklahoma State like they were a year ago. They still got to 7-5. They're going to finish this with an 8-win season.
Coming up next, Under Armour All-America practice, day 1. Some of the future college football talent. We'll showcase it for you right here on ESPNU. Mike Gundy, he has to find an offensive coordinator this offseason, but we told you there's a lot in the cupboard for 2013. 3 quarterbacks coming back. Joseph Randall might decide to stay. Real good defense coming back. Purdue, though, with a new head coach and losing Robert Marv, losing Akeem Shavers, he's going to have a lot of work to do.
It's not just a coaching change. They're going to want a roster overhaul in some form or fashion. We'd like to have asked Coach Hazel what his philosophy will be. Purdue, when they enjoyed a lot of success, they kind of brought that spread offense element to the Big Ten. And you think back to Drew Brees' years, that's the way they were operating.
2 teams who are a win away from the national championship game square off in one of the most highly anticipated bowl games of this postseason. The Ducks taking on Kansas State, 8 o'clock Eastern, the Tostitos Fiesta Bowl. That's Thursday at 8 on ESPN, also live on the Watch ESPN app. Of course, Oklahoma State in the Fiesta Bowl a season ago beat Andrew Luck at Stanford. Second down coming up. No gain on that run for Bolden, as we're just over 6 minutes to go here in Dallas. When you think back to the beginning of the season, USC was the preseason #1. Notre Dame, not even ranked in the top 25. Wow, how things have changed as we look back.
Yeah, it shows what we know, right? All these so-called experts, analysts. Well, let's take a look at a bunch of teams that haven't played any games and determine who the best one is. It's kind of a silly exercise.
Yeah, it really is. There's O.J. Ross. He's made some catches here in the second half, but he was non-existent in the first half. And how about Johnny Manziel, coming out of nowhere this year, a Texas native as it happens, and winning the Heisman Trophy as a freshman in Texas A&M's first year in the highly competitive SEC.
Isn't that amazing? And, you know, really to come out of nowhere, even through the course of the season, didn't speak with the media, you know, quietly, if that's possible, putting together unbelievable numbers in total yardage, breaking SEC records in A&M's first year in that conference.
Robert Marve ending his career today. Started his career at Miami. It's Gabe Holmes as we're under 5 minutes to go. Really got to tip your hat to that young man.
A tough kid. I mean, no question about it. A lot of toughness demonstrated by this Purdue team. And we mentioned the laundry list of ACL injuries. That doesn't include all the other nicks that you get over the course of a season. They're actually losing ligaments and playing through.
Another fake punt. We saw that one in the first quarter. And Cody Webster is going to have another first down for the Purdue Boilermakers. He is the special teams MVP for Purdue today. The BCS on ESPN is available live anytime, anywhere on your computer, tablet, or smartphone at watchespn.com and with the Watch ESPN app. That thing is probably getting worn out today on a lot of tablets with all the bowl action.
A lot going on, man, in New Year's Day games.
So Purdue will have a chance to get that clock moving here. I'm sure they want to get out of here. This has been a tough day for the Boilermakers. Marv throws, and it is caught. And Tavian Edison. That is his first catch today. 57 catches coming into the day for 625 yards. All career highs. And with under 4 minutes to go, gets his first.
They tried to get him the ball in their very first opening series. Unable to do it, and it's been quiet ever since. Really hadn't gone in his direction since then.
Marv taking a shot at the end zone, and it's caught by the other side, out of bounds. Kevin Peterson comes in nickel situations most of the time for Oklahoma State. And that well covered.
You see Purdue, you know, still out there, still fighting, converting a fake punt, getting some final reps for some guys, you know, like Marv. The other seniors on this football team, their football career is going to end here today. A chance to get out there. There are no church league football teams. Once you're done in college, if you don't go to the pros, that's it. These guys only have a few more snaps left in their careers.
Anderson again. Also can't help but think. And Purdue decided to fake that kick because they were afraid to give it back to Oklahoma State out of fear of what they might do with it.
That's true. Yeah, it's special teams has been an adventure for Purdue a good bit of the season. Same for Oklahoma State, for that matter. They've had their difficulties as well. This ball game, though, was really set off by the punt return by Josh Stewart, and it changed this game, you know, for the rest of it, for the balance of it, and that just so happened to happen in the first quarter.
To the end zone, touchdown. Tommy Thomas. A 16-yard reception. And Robert Marv. It's Purdue in the end zone. Just under 3 minutes to go here in the fourth quarter.
Big number 57, Robert Kugler. He's got 2 tackles on the day. He's also able to get out in front and be able to escort the receiver Thomas there into the end zone. Purdue, a couple of scores in this ball game. You got to be happy for him to get a chance to at least end it with some sense of positive, you know, after struggling the bulk of this game.
8 plays, 61 yards, and 335. Marv over 200 yards passing today, a couple of touchdowns, was picked a couple of times. You pointed out Robert Kugler on that last play. There he is. His dad, Sean, just left the Pittsburgh Steelers to take over the head coaching job at UTEP.
Yeah, family, you know, a guy that he knows. We've seen a couple of times. He was the one that covered down, kept Josh Stewart from scoring on that big punt return that we mentioned. He's also the one that made the tackle after the strip fumble and return by Broderick Brown. And then you see him there able to play out in space. We talked about how active Purdue's offensive front is. You know, he'll actually get Kugler back. He's a young guy, freshman. We'll have a couple more years in front of him. He's one of those young offensive linemen that Coach Hazel was talking about, being excited to work with.
Converted tight end. Did you ever play tight end along with your guard and tackle duties?
I did. I did whatever it took to keep my name on a locker.
You'd still be playing if it weren't for those nasty injuries.
Doggone it. Those pesky injuries. It's a rough game, man. Eventually you got to walk away. Got to follow the broom if it took staying on the team. A lot of guys will.
Under 3 minutes to go. Oklahoma State get it again here. And out to the 30-yard line. Capital One player of the game, Clint Chelf from Oklahoma State, the quarterback, got going early, and he was impressive.
Yeah, you know, I was mentioning Clint Chelf and how confident I think he looked, very comfortable operating this offense. And just nice touch on his passes, great placement, and seemed to have complete command of this offense. And we mentioned earlier that he was kind of a gamer. That's positive and a negative in that if you're not demonstrating your abilities during the week, it's hard for the coaches to give you your chances. But when he got his shots in the game, he really capitalized on it. And, you know, it'll be very curious to see what Oklahoma State does going into the 2013 season in the quarterback spot.
Penalty flag flies
against the offense. 5-yard penalty. Still first down.
So Chelf, our Capital One player of the game. 197 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. I'm not exactly sure what Mike Gundy meant when he said to you and I this week that the quarterback position is pretty much set for next year. I don't know how anyone could come to that conclusion, but he has, because you've got Chelf, Walsh, and Lunt all coming back.
Yeah, you know, well, he didn't specify set with whom. You know, it was.
4 Purdue must leave the game for 1 play as a result of helmet loss. Please set the play clock to 40 seconds.
But again, you know, it's a good problem to have, of course, to have 3 different guys to have to decide among all of them enjoying success this season.
Rolling first down and more to the 45 of Purdue. The sophomore has been impressive. Smith and Rowland behind Randall. That running game for Oklahoma State so potent. You know, the offensive weapons that they've got in the receiving corps get a lot of the pub, a lot of the headlines, but they have great running backs too.
They do, yeah, and it's a key component of what they do offensively. It comes as no surprise. You know, when Kendall Hunter was running the ball for Oklahoma State, you know, back when Justin Blackman was here, he's catching a lot of passes. You know, Keith Toston, another one at the tailback position. They always run the ball well at Oklahoma State, find ways to get that running game established.
There's Caleb Moncrief now. He gets 10. We're seeing some of the deep reserves in the Oklahoma State arsenal. Chelf and Walsh, a combined 5 touchdowns today, no interceptions. Big plays and turnovers. Exactly what Purdue said they couldn't afford to give up. They did both.
It ended up being the story of the game for them. You know, it proved to be challenging. Already a daunting task, given as well as Oklahoma State played offensively this season, to try to keep pace with them. Couldn't afford to give them a head start, and that's exactly what Purdue ended up doing.
It's Moncrief again. Reminder, the trophy ceremony will come up live on ESPN3 right after the game. And one thing that Gundy has done a great job of since taking over the head coaching job is getting Oklahoma State to bowl games and winning them.
7 straight bowl games for Oklahoma State. That's the longest in school history. He's got the towel wrapped around his neck in preparation for the old Gatorade dump. He's a smart man. He's been through it already. In fact, it looks kind of soggy. He might have already caught that Gatorade. Either way, he's enjoyed a lot of postseason success since his return as a head coach here at his alma mater.
His wife, Kristen, also a graduate of Oklahoma State. They go out into the parking lot after games in Stillwater, and they tailgate with the fans. They love being Oklahoma State Cowboys.
He's an Oklahoma State guy. You know, he seemed to take a look around at a couple other schools. Had a little dalliance, I think, with Tennessee. You heard his name pop up with the Arkansas job. It's so hard to understand, you know, how legitimate those talks really are, but certainly the kind of job that he's done at Oklahoma State is going to draw the attention of other established programs.
There's Rowland wrapped up. Bring up 4th down at about 3. As we got 30 seconds to go, penalty flags come out again.
Yeah, you know, at this, and this is what you don't want to see.
Grasping the face mask. Number 5 of the defense. Half the distance to the goal. 1st down. The runner for Purdue does not have to leave the game. Helmet loss was as a result of the foul.
That was a new rule this year in college football. The helmet comes off. Player has to leave for at least one play. I thought it was a good one. I thought we see less helmets coming off as the season wore on.
Yeah, and something needed to be done. It's a player safety issue. You know, in that instance, you know, Antoine Hicks, he rips the helmet off of Desmond Rowland, and before that gets some time on the sideline. Patrick Higgins, none too pleased. You don't want the game to get out of control. The score's out of control, but you don't want your players out there, you know, participate in stuff like that. The helmet rule, though, I think ultimately player safety was the advent of that rule.
Now, Oklahoma State is not going to try and score again. Already the most points allowed by Purdue in a bowl game in their history. And there is Mike Gundy, winning as coach in Oklahoma State history. Tacks on another bowl victory here with a win in the heart of Dallas Bowl. And interim head coach Patrick Higgins, unsure about his future as Darrell Hazel now the new head coach at Purdue.
Well, Darrell Hazel, there might be some other new names in that leaders division. Already Wisconsin with the new coach, Gary Anderson from Utah State. A lot of talk about Bill O'Brien at Penn State. Darrell Hazel, yet another new face. Urban Meyer, a new guy over there in that division. Patrick Higgins done as the interim job, and obviously Oklahoma State, a bright future next year with the players returning. Doesn't matter who their quarterback is, they've got options.
Last time these two teams met in a bowl game was the '97 Alamo Bowl. That win went to Purdue in Joe Tiller's first season with the Boilermakers. This time, though, Oklahoma State the winner. Let's go down to Kaylee Hartung.
Coach Gundy, you said that this year was one of the most satisfying experiences you've had as a coach. How do you feel now that it's over?
Well, I'm really happy for our seniors and our football team. And we had some disappointing games this season, and we ended up in a bowl game that some people thought we may not should have been in, but our team didn't approach it that way. They prepared well over the last 3 weeks. Our coaches did a really nice job, and so for that reason, they deserve to play well, and their effort today was terrific, and I do want to congratulate for Purdue, a tough situation they're in without having a head coach, and they handled themselves with class all week.
You will return some great talent next season. What did you see today from some of those younger players that makes you excited for next season?
Well, we had the departures from seniors that have been really good, but we have a large group of young players that are coming back, and it could be our best group overall when you talk about 70 players that we've had in a number of years. Maybe not that great marquee guy. We got a couple running backs that are mature and big time players. But for the most part, the group is really going to be good, and we have a lot of youth that can make plays.
Thank you very much, Coach. Congratulations.
All right, Kaylee, 58-14 the final. Coming up next on ESPNU and ESPN Recruiting Nation Special, Under Armour All-America Practice, day number 1 from Orlando. You're going to find the trophy presentation from the Heart of Dallas Bowl on ESPN3. For Kaylee and Matt, I'm Clay. So long from the Heart of Dallas Bowl. Happy New Year. Oklahoma State wins big. Now Anish.